WTN, Hendersonville, Nashville. From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studio, Super Talk 99.7.
WTN.
Good morning. It's 5 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and we've got cloudy skies today. Some rain that'll end sometime this afternoon. Our high around 63 for today. Right now, 48 in the news and new this morning in the fight to free Iran. Kuwait's Minister of Defense is saying several U.S. military aircraft have crashed overnight. All the crews, however, have survived. Video from CNN shows a fighter jet crashing and a pilot parachuting to the ground. It's not clear yet what caused that crash. President Trump, meantime, expressed condolences for the 3 U.S. service members who were killed in Kuwait by an Iranian airstrike. That attack, of course, a response to U.S. and Israeli airstrikes across Iran. Both sides launching more attacks on Sunday. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Doha. He's got the latest this morning.
Here in Qatar, we got the new emergency alerts that went out to cell phones this morning, and we've heard more loud booms here in Doha. Meanwhile, overnight, President Trump says the new potential leaders of Iran have indicated that they want to talk. We saw the Interim Leadership Council meeting this weekend, but Trump did not elaborate on plans for any future U.S. negotiations.
Now, there is word out of Iran that loyalists to the Ayatollah claim that those are Trump's delusional fantasies, that he could make a deal with them. And they warned that they are not willing to negotiate. Ali Larijani is a close ally of the Ayatollah and the secretary of the National Security Council. He announced the formation of what he calls a provisional government. Meantime, the FBI is looking into any connection to Iran after a man wearing a sweatshirt reading "Property of Allah" and wearing an Iran T-shirt shot up a bar in Austin, Texas.
Gunfire outside a popular bar in Austin, Texas this weekend, now being linked potentially to terrorism. Police say the shooter first opened fire from his SUV at patrons outside the bar, then got out with a rifle and shot people in the street. 2 people were killed, 14 others wounded. People inside sheltering for safety.
Close it! Close it! Close it! Close it!
Within 1 minute of the first call for help, police confronting the gunman, fatally shooting him.
That is ABC's Faith Abube. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street Weekend. The week ending with a sharp stock market slump, the Dow dropping over 500 points with investors rattled by higher than expected inflation data. Also fueling fierce questions about the long-term profitability of AI, and shares of software companies falling amid fears that AI-powered competitors will take their business. The tensions between Iran and the U.S. sending oil prices more than 2% higher. Target says it'll stop selling cereals that contain synthetic colors by the end of May, and it will no longer carry national brands that don't reformulate to remove synthetic dyes, but they didn't name the brands. High beef prices will be sticking around for a while. The USDA reports a jump in cases of the parasite called the New World screwworm in Mexican cattle. There aren't any U.S. cases, but because of the infections, the U.S. isn't importing Mexican cattle. And at the start of the year, the U.S. cattle herd hit its lowest inventory in 75 years. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Well, that is the latest news. We've got your traffic just ahead here. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home. You'll save time and make the most money. Hey, it's Dan Mandis. Call them at 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD, or go to markspain.com and start packing.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover's accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Joe Fallon did something smart. He saved hundreds on auto insurance switching to Progressive. With that money, he commissioned a portrait of himself. Does Joe already know what he looks like? Yes. Do guests know what he looks like? Also yes. But not as art. It's Joe's savings, and if he wants to spend it on a velvet painting of himself with a white tiger at his feet, we say, roar, Joe, roar. Switch and see if you could save with Progressive and treat yourself. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
When people gather in churches on Easter Sunday, many of Nashville's homeless will be searching for their next meal and a safe place to sleep. Thankfully, we have Nashville Rescue Mission, a place where people can come to be nourished physically and spiritually, where people can get what they need to get back on their feet. People like me. This Easter, bring joy to those in need. Donate today at NashvilleRescueMission.org.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need heat or cold AC, busy bee, oh, busy bee. Call 775-7833.
This hour brought to you by Eurofix. Get repairs on European vehicles without dealer pricing.
From the United Structural Systems WTN Traffic Center.
Okay, so far this morning, things look pretty good. I don't see any big delays this morning on any of the major roadways. It's a little wet, so you may find the need to decrease your speeds a little bit heading in. It's coming up here. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
5:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. I don't know, Joan. I don't know, Sam. It feels like a slow news day.
Very funny.
I know. Isn't that some gallows humor from the newsroom?
That was ironic.
Wow. All right. Very good, Sam. Very good.
You
It
score
is.
points for that.
He absolutely gets us some points for that. We do have a lot going on, obviously. Joan, you were talking about our planes that have been going out over Kuwait, going down over Kuwait. They said a few. Is it like, we don't even know. They're not getting real specific. Is it 2? Is it 3? We actually don't know.
Yes, several, which doesn't really tell us much. I mean, I think that several means 3,
Yes.
4, 5, but
Well, a couple is 2.
yeah,
A few
several
is
would be-
3.
A few is 3.
How many is several is like 4, whatever. Anyway, so they don't know what. I was reading about this, and they're talking about maybe, just maybe, part of this was friendly fire. So they may have, picked up some of the missiles on the ground that are designed to take out the planes. I don't know. That's part of what they're saying. So, but lucky for us, we've got Lieutenant General Richard Figg, who is going to be joining us again at 6:35. He is actually a longtime bomber pilot. And so he's going to join us. He is a news analyst for News Nation, and he is really, really good. So I'm looking forward to talking to him at 6:35. 7:05, some analysis on Iran from Brian Wilson, who also has an insider at NES, Joan. Listen to this, because it's not going to be all about Iran today. Brian has an insider at NES who has some inside intel on the story of celebrities and politicians contacting NES to get their power back on, jumping in front of the line, if you will. So Brian's got a contact within NES, and so he's going to tell us all about that as well. 7:35, Congressman Scott DeJarlais will be joining us, too. What do you think the chances are that Congressman DeJarlais drops a curse bomb like Tim Burchett did last week? I'm thinking Scott is not going to do that.
To be fair, he did refer to your name as making a number 2.
Yeah, he did. He sure did.
That's right, yeah.
That continues to be a rather epic moment here on Nashville's Morning News. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so there is a lot going on, and, it's a challenging day for yours truly, just because, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I know that there's going to be some people that are on the air and not necessarily here. I don't know what the other guy's going to say. But I can't celebrate what is going on. I can certainly celebrate the death of Khomeini. That is a great thing. The 48 or so other folks in his regime, that they're also dead. I love that fact as well. I will celebrate their deaths. But it's also a difficult day because we lost 3 members of our military. And so that is obviously something to report and consider this morning. 3 U.S. service members have died, 5 seriously wounded as well. Donald Trump, I think it's interesting. One of the things that he said is that, and he told this to the Daily Mail, that this could last for 4 or 5 weeks. And he also said that there may be more casualties as well. So there is a lot to report on this morning. Israel and the U.S. continue bombing Iran. Iran continues to fire at our military bases in the region. They continue to fire at our allies as well. And they have bombed Dubai, Doha, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. So, part of me, as Iran continues to bomb all of these other nations, one of the things to keep in mind is that what we are doing is these are strategic military strikes. We are taking out as much as we can of Iran's government, Iran's military as well. But Iran, they're bombing hotels. They're bombing neighborhoods. This is what Iran does. And so really, in a way, as Iran continues to respond to these attacks, they're really proving the point of Donald Trump in Israel. Iran's current president says that revenge is the country's right and the country's duty. And President Trump is going to brief lawmakers at some point today. That is something that I'll be asking Congressman DeJarlais, Joan, at 7:35.
So there was also the one case over the weekend, and this mirrored, what happened so many times in the conflict in Gaza, is that Iran claimed that the U.S. shot a missile into a girls' school, killing scores of young girls.
Right.
When it was really Iran that did that.
Yeah, this is what they do. This is exactly, Joan, you're right. This is exactly what Hamas did when they blamed Israel for bombing a hospital, and it was one of their own missiles that took out that hospital.
It's just textbook what you find in the Middle East. It's horrifying. You can't believe anything that comes out of the Middle East.
No, you can't.
But you saw that, I don't know, is that Khomeini's replacement talking about how you haven't even seen what we have. It was
because we blew it up
25 hours ago, buddy.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the deal. We've lost 3 service members. We've lost some airplanes over Kuwait. One of the questions that I'm going to ask Lieutenant General Richard Figg is if this could be an instance where, maybe our computers on the planes are getting jammed because nobody's really saying how these planes came down, which to me really kind of piques my interest. So
also, because they were saying that was happening on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, is that these ships, their navigation was being jammed.
Yep.
And all communications were being jammed. So some of these ships had to go dark. Mm-hmm. They were being led astray.
Yep.
There's something happening there, and we need to know if that was caused by Iran and what they're doing. We need to know.
Let's not forget that Iran is very capable of cyber warfare.
Yes.
So that's a big part of the conversation. Also, let's not forget about China. Let's not forget about Russia, although, I think China is, from a cybersecurity standpoint, I think China is the bigger threat. China. So they are the bigger threat as far as the cyber warfare goes. And China clearly not happy that we're messing with Iran. So you do have the president. He did give an interview with the Daily Mail, breaking his silence on Sunday on the first U.S. casualties of the war in Iran in an exclusive, they say, phone interview with the Daily Mail. He said they're great people, the president said, and as you know, we expected that to happen. Unfortunately, could happen continuous. He says it could happen again. President Trump also revealed a potential timeline for the war with Iran, suggesting fighting could go for the next 4 weeks. Now, I've seen 4 to 5 weeks. I don't know if it matters. 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, whatever. Hey, let's do a Daily Dan poll, and I'll be the first to go. So do you believe the timeline of 4 weeks will hold? I don't believe that it will. I think this is going to be, I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like we better settle in. This is going to take a minute. Iran's military, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, they are showing no signs, although Donald Trump said that they are starting to surrender, but I haven't seen that anywhere else. I'll ask Lieutenant General Richard Figg about that.
The other thing that we can't discount here is that DHS isn't funded right now.
Correct.
And, all that cyber warfare stuff is occurring without our guys being funded. Also, there was a terror attack here in the U.S. this weekend.
There was,
and,
by a guy wearing a Property of Allah shirt. And this is so funny. Can I tell you what drives me nuts about the news? And I understand why they do it. Guy shows up. He's got a Property of Allah sweatshirt. And underneath that sweatshirt, he's got a T-shirt promoting Iran. It's like Iran's flag or something. They go to his home, and he's got a bunch of photos of Iranian leaders. Did you see this? And, of course, he had a Quran in his car.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if it's a terror attack or not. We don't know the inspiration behind the attack on this bar in Austin, Texas. By the way, have you seen the background of this guy? We'll get into that as well. This dude shouldn't have even been in the country. We've got a lot more straight ahead. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Just seeing right now that there's some police activity in Goodlettsville. It's on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, the westbound side. It's at the off-ramp to Conference Drive. That's exit 1. And the off-ramp there is completely blocked off. Just be aware of that. And you do have some rain on the roads this morning. It may slow things down as you're heading into work. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. As far as the weather for today, cloudy, showers, and a high of 65. By the way, Nashville's Morning News, powered by Tennessee National, golf and waterfront community at TennesseeNational.com. Joan, you were talking about, astutely enough, I mean, this is a big deal right now. You're talking about the partial government shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. So we know that ICE and the Border Patrol not majorly impacted by this shutdown. Who is shut down right now? Well, of course, the Coast Guard, FEMA, TSA. Secret Service impacted as well. And the CISA. You know what that is?
CISA.
The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. This is important. This one is pretty big because Iran, and I've been talking about this for a long time, Iran does have real and growing cyber abilities. So does China, Iran's ally. So we'll have to see.
China?
Thank you. You know what I love about Sam, Joan, is, he's right there, except when I kind of call for it.
China?
Well, he's certainly there with the China.
Shut up.
All right, so can we talk...
need this levity this morning, by the way.
Yes. Can we talk about this guy who shot up the bar in Austin? So this guy, his name, by the way, is Diaga Dijan. At least that's how Grok tells me to pronounce it. It's Ndiaga And he's originally from Senegal, which is in West Africa. He came to the U.S. in the year 2000. Now, here's the crazy part about this guy that is from Senegal and in West Africa. He's been in the U.S. since the year 2000. He's had a long history of arrests. He's got a history of mental illness. Guess what year his first arrest was in? The year 2001 for illegal vending. He's had several arrests after that and prior to him becoming a naturalized citizen. You know what time he became what year he became a naturalized citizen? 2013. So let me ask a question. Why is it that we allowed this guy to become a naturalized citizen when he's got a history of mental illness and a long history of arrests, including the year after he came into America? It is insanity. Now, the arrest in 2000, it was for illegal vending, but whatever. I mean, it's still an arrest. Here's the other thing. By the way, that was in the city of New York. Here's the other thing. Some of these arrests, they're sealed. So we don't actually know. There's like 3 arrests of this guy where they have been sealed. So we don't even know what these arrests are for. He moved around a lot. Go ahead, Joan.
Why are they sealed? What's behind that? Did
nobody.
they just seal them?
A good question. I don't know why they would be sealed. They don't say why they were sealed.
Your possibilities include that he was tried on a case and acquitted, or he struck a plea deal that would have had it sealed. Those are the two major possibilities in my perspective.
And by the way, over the weekend I did a show for Red Eye Radio. They did a live special weekend show, and I did it. And so some of this, if you listen to that show, some of this is going to be repeat, but it does bear repeating. Daily Mail, and I'm going to ask Richard Figg about this. Daily Mail did a article on the dangers lurking within our borders. Now, this guy came here in the year 2000, but we also know what happened in the 4 years that Joe Biden was in office and the wide open border and the dangers that are lurking in this country as far as sleeper cells. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I believe that we're probably going to see more of these. I hate to say it, but I believe that we will, just based on what we have in this country. So this is part of the problem that we have. This guy, by the way, also, there is going back to the Austin shooter, there is no list of employment status anywhere. For 26 years, he's been here. There's no list of him working anywhere.
Well, to be fair, Dan, he was property of Allah.
Allah pays in virgins.
He had all of that money anyway.
Oh, okay. You know what? Keep going, guys. Keep going. You're both on a roll. I love that. Anyway, and he was gunned down by the Austin police.
He was also on a roll on the sidewalk.
He was. So he came here on a B-2 tourist visa in the year 2000. 2006 becomes a lawful permanent resident through an IR6 marriage visa. 2013, again, naturalized as a U.S. citizen despite multiple arrests and, again, mental health problems. Why do we allow these people to stay? Criminals and mental health patients. Oh, yeah, sure, we'll let him stay.
Yeah, right.
I mean, his butt should have been back to West Africa.
He was let in during the Obama administration.
Oh, yeah. Well, Obama administration, they let him in.
Yeah, he should have been back to feeling the rains.
In Africa? Are we really going to quote Toto?
Toto reference.
Oh, my gosh.
5:22 in the morning.
Anyway, so that is the story of this guy. And we'll have to wait and see. The FBI is going to be very busy watching guys just like this. And here's the problem. There are thousands of people just like this. And we don't know who's out there. We don't know who's lurking. We have no idea the dangers that are within these sleeper cells that Joe Biden let in. So there's a lot to talk about today. I don't know. What about you? Do you believe in the polling that shows the vast majority of Americans are against the strikes in Iran? Reuters Ipsos poll shows that just 27% of American adults approve of the strikes against Iran, 43% disapprove, 29% are undecided. There's all kinds of polling out there. There's another poll that shows almost the exact opposite, that 50% of the American people actually approve of what we are doing. I don't know.
You said 29% are undecided and 27% approve?
27% of American adults approve, 43% disapprove, 29% they say are undecided. And by the way, this was...
So the majority either doesn't care or supports it.
I can't imagine people don't care. Do you think there's anybody who actually doesn't care?
No, I do not.
There's no way.
No, you'd be surprised.
No,
in the Gen Z
I don't.
and millennial groups that there would be people that just aren't at a capacity to... They want to pay rent next month. You know, they don't care what's happening.
I would agree with you, but I would also disagree with you. People can walk and chew gum at the same time. People can actually watch SpongeBob and actually care about what's happening.
Not everybody has your style and grace when you do it. Some people trip, fall, and smack their face against a doorknob when they're walking and chewing gum.
Oh, you haven't seen me trying to walk down the stairs at midnight to do show prep. Anyway, 5:24, Nashville's Morning News. Joan has the news at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, just crossing the wires. We know now how those 3 U.S. fighter jets came down in Kuwait. Details on that coming up. Also, a couple of head-on crashes involving tractor trailers in the Nashville area over the weekend. Those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hello, this is Chris Milam with Milam's Optical Service. Celebrate.
.529 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends, and welcome on into a Monday, March 2nd of 2026. All right, coming up, we are going to hear some audio from President Donald Trump. He gave a message last night. We're going to talk about what the president had to say And we've got a lot more for you this morning, including especially, I'm looking forward to 6:35. Lieutenant General Richard Figg is going to be joining us to talk about the military strikes, the political ramifications of the military strike on Iran as well. Going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Joan Jones with the news right now on WTN.
Good morning, now 5:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Some rain to start us out this morning. It's not going to last all day, though. We'll be in the 60s by this afternoon as that rain clears out. Well, just into the newsroom, we're learning that the 3 U.S. fighter jets that were reported as having crashed overnight were actually shot down mistakenly by Kuwaiti air defenses. U.S. Central Command saying that while it acknowledges the mistake, it is grateful for Kuwait's support. All 3 pilots parachuted to safety. ABC's Marcus Moore is in Doha. He's got the latest.
President Trump giving new insight into the military action in Iran, telling ABC News the U.S. attacks could last 4 or 5 more weeks. His statement coming just hours after the announcement that 3 American service members were killed during an Iranian attack in Kuwait.
We grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation. And sadly, there will likely be more.
The U.S. and Israel striking more than 2,000 targets inside Iran Sunday.
Meantime, loud explosions heard across several Gulf cities, including in Dubai and Doha. Blast also heard in Jerusalem, with the IDF saying that defense systems were operating to intercept missiles. Now, several U.S. warplanes crashed, as we said, in Kuwait. The crews there surviving. Local news, parts of Robertson Road in Madison closed overnight by a horrific crash. Here's WSMV4's Danielle Ledbetter.
This happened just after midnight on Robinson Road in Madison. Officials say a woman went down a 4-lane road the wrong way and slammed head-on into a semi-truck.
And that woman in the van died at the scene. Also, Springfield, another head-on crash. Smoky Barn News reporting that an SUV and a Walmart tractor trailer collided yesterday afternoon on 5th Avenue at Smith Street. A woman and a child in that crash were injured. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, so we have some problems this morning in Goodlettsville on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard on the westbound side. The off-ramp to Conference Drive is blocked off right now. Actually, they just have the right lane blocked off now, so you can get around it at least at this hour. It is police activity in that area. The major roadways are looking good so far this morning. No big delays. Traffic brought to you, traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.536, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, Joan, Kuwait shot down our planes.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Somebody had a bad day.
How do
you not differentiate between, like, Iran's planes and our planes? Like, you know what? What's that?
They said it was their defense system, so I don't know that it was like an actual airplane shooting at another airplane.
No, I understand
right.
that. It's one of the missiles down on the ground.
Modern air defense rely heavily on identification, friend or foe, or IFF transponders, radar signatures, flight paths, and real-time coordination. In intense scenarios, these can fail due to IFF transponder issues, overwhelmed sensors from multiple inbound tracks, communication breakdowns in joint allied operations, and human error under stress.
Okay. Listen, everybody's okay. And is it weird that I'm, like, at least heartened that it wasn't Iran that shot us down?
Yeah.
Well, they tried to take credit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they tried to take credit. It's funny, before this, I want to make sure everybody knows that before we got this news that it was friendly fire, some knucklehead talk show host in Nashville actually said, I bet you it may have been friendly fire. So I was right.
I actually saw a video last night of what looked like a F-15 pilot being recovered by some Kuwait people, put in the back of a car, helped to get back to the base.
Did they immediately apologize? Dude, my bad. We're sorry.
They were asking him what happened.
You know, exchanging insurance, that kind of thing.
He was just chilling in the back of a minivan.
All right, this is Donald Trump and part of what he said last night.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries.
All right, now, I have not heard this, Joan. Have you heard this? Sam, you ever heard this? Do you think at any point he's going to say, he died like a dog?
Yeah.
I think he learned.
Did he learn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of actually enjoyed that.
I love that. One of my favorite videos ever.
Shane Gillis's impression
is when they do a comparison of Obama when he took out Osama bin Laden and when Trump took out, I forget the guy's name, but Obama.
Baghdadi.
What's that?
Al-Baghdadi.
Al-Baghdadi, that's right. So you've got, Obama being his usual, he was an eloquent guy. I didn't like him, but he was eloquent. So Obama's being all eloquent about the death of Osama bin Laden. Then they cut to Donald Trump. He died like a dog. You know what I mean? It's just very funny. And I like he died like a dog much better.
Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands.
So just a little bit of context on that. What the president has been saying, I've been telling about the Islamic Revolutionary Guard for, a long time, obviously. And basically that is the military arm of the Iranian government. So, yes, they are, military, but they also have a lot of actual roles within the Iranian government, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Also, remember, this is the military apparatus that also trained Hamas to attack Israel. And ultimately, as y'all know, Hamas took out 1,200 plus Israelis on that horrific day. And so the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, Donald Trump says that they're calling by the thousands. I don't know. Have you heard, Joan, about any of these guys laying down their arms and asking for...
I have not.
Yeah, I have not heard. Now, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I don't know if that would be something that the media would readily report. But you know what? If Donald Trump is saying that's happening, then who am I to call the president a liar? But he said, you know what? If you lay down your arms and you make that phone call and you want to stand by us as we try to rebuild Iran, well, then we'll go ahead and we'll allow you to take part in that process.
Let's just say that no one has actually called yet, though. Putting that out there is going to cause some internal diffusion, right?
Yeah, because there's already over the weekend, there were reports that there was some division within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. And so there's some factions, Joan, you and I were talking in our pre-show meeting that there are some factions within the Iranian government that are saying that they are willing to negotiate, other factions that are saying they're not willing to negotiate. So we're already seeing what a lot of folks, including yours truly, predicted, which is a lot of disagreement within Iran, within its military, within its government as well, over who is in charge. And so let's just say that the faction that wants to negotiate does negotiate. Well, the faction that does not want to negotiate, they don't necessarily have to listen to whatever terms are negotiated. So that's going to be a big part of the problem. Now, do I believe that Trump ultimately has a plan in place? I don't know. It sounds like he does.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen.
Yeah, there was 3 dead and 5 that have been, I guess, seriously wounded. Joan, is that what you have?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And do we know how they died? Like, was it maybe a...
No, we don't.
Okay. All right.
The
I thought
assumption,
it was a strike on the Kuwait base.
That's the thought.
Yeah.
I don't think that's been confirmed as of yet.
We haven't even gotten to the fact that this has caused some outbreak surge in Pakistan, where the consulate was under attack.
Well, also in Kuwait, I think, we're going to have embassies burning all across the Middle East. That's just what they do.
Well, did you hear about Pakistan specifically?
No.
Right.
That was fun.
So the guys just descended on the building, smashing windows, threatening, of course, to go in. And they were just summarily killed. What was it, 20, Sam?
Who killed them? Like our
the
people?
Marines.
Good.
They didn't understand that out of all of the fighting forces, you're going to go pick on the Marines who have those guys are constantly itching to do something.
Oh, they're like...
And you're going to go smash windows. I think they had like 2 pistols in this mob of 40 or 50 people.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that the Marines were itching to kill people. That's not what I'm going to say.
Well, no,
but what I would
itching
say,
to protect.
Yeah, itching to protect. It's like, you know what? You can come in here with your rocks and your sticks or whatever you got, but it's not going to end well for you guys.
It didn't. And 9 dead and 25 injured. So
is that all on video? Because I know that I've seen the video. Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's the Pakistani guys recording themselves. Like, I guess.
So I want to make sure I get this right. So they go to our consulate And they come armed with rocks and sticks and a phone.
Crowbars and some phones and some 2x4s and
wow.
They got it. I guess wasn't tracking with them that there's Marines with armor, grenades, and automatic weapons on the other side.
Well, that's okay. Allah protected them, I'm sure.
And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen.
So that is President Donald Trump, by the way. New explosions have been heard in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha, among others. So our bombing continues. Iran's bombing continues. Israel's bombing continues as well. And let's take a look at the Daily Dan poll. So, Joan, I don't even know did we get your official prediction? The Daily Dan poll question is Donald Trump said 4 weeks. I've heard other reporting say 4 to 5 weeks. And so then my question is, okay, so do you believe that we will actually see a 4 to 5 week war, or do you believe that it'll be longer than that? And so how did we exactly frame the question on YouTube, Sam?
I added a third option. Do you believe the timeline of Trump's 4 weeks will hold? Yes, no, longer than that, or no, shorter than that?
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. That's my selection.
Yeah,
I believe it's going to be shorter.
Okay.
Yeah. Joan and
He
I are
ain't
on the same
messing
page.
around. And he's said over and over again, he doesn't like war. He doesn't like death. And he's already said, people, we're going to, the people of Iran, we are going to clear out the mullahs, the Ayatollah, all the evil. You take over. You do what has to happen to make your government what you want.
Yeah, we're at
So
47% say no, longer than that. 31% saying yes, timeline 4 weeks will hold. And then, Joan, you and I are in the minority of 21% saying no, shorter than that.
I hope you guys are right.
I
do.
I think he said 4 weeks as 4D chess of going, this is how long I'm prepared to go. Let's see how long it takes for you to tap out.
Okay. By the way, have you guys, if anybody spent any time on the World Wide Web, you saw this over the weekend, the difference between the Democrats' handling of Iran and the Republicans. This, of course, Kamala Harris.
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
As President Biden said, just don't.
Exactly. One word. Pretty straightforward.
Right. And then you can listen to what Donald Trump says.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care. They've got to be stopped.
So that is, listen.
I think 46 had something to say about that.
Don't.
Yeah, he did. He did. Joe Biden also.
I think he was telling himself not to crap his pants.
don't.
I can feel it coming. Oh, no. Oh, Jill.
Oh,
Don't.
Phil Collins.
Yeah. Anyway, so that is, Amy sent that to me over the weekend. Very, very funny, as a matter of fact. And, I do understand. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, and then I said this over the weekend when I did Red Eye. I'm going to say it here as well. I got very mixed emotions about this because we don't know how this whole thing is going to end. But considering the fact that we took out the Ayatollah in the first round of bombs and 48 of his regime, of his henchmen, I think that we are off to a great start. Marco Rubio, of course, he was hitting the weekend shows. He said this to Maria Bartiromo. This is what the Secretary of State had to say.
Listen, why do we have bases in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and Qatar and UAE? All of those bases are there to help protect those countries from Iran. Why did Hezbollah exist? Because of Iran. What does Hamas exist? Because of Iran. How do the Houthis exist? Because of Iran. Who built the IEDs that maimed and killed American soldiers in Iraq? Iran. They're behind every problem in this region. They are the sole source of instability in the entire Middle East, and the world's been paying a price for this for 40-something years. Imagine those people having a nuclear weapon, just one nuclear weapon, or even the capability to being on the threshold of having a nuclear weapon. That's what the world was facing. That is unacceptable. President Trump did the world a favor last night, and now Iran should sort of wake up, the Iranian regime should wake up and say, okay, if we really want nuclear energy in our country, there's a way to do it. That offer's still there. We're prepared to talk to them tomorrow and start working on that. Steve Woodcock has traveled extensively around the world trying to reach that deal with them, but they play too many games. They play way too many games, and now they've found out.
Well, that's one of the things that Donald Trump has said. We've all said, actually, which is, Iran has this really bad habit of, okay, so we're going to take a meeting, and then, Joan, 4, 5, 6 weeks later, we're still trying to, get some sort of an answer as to the points that were made in that meeting. And so Trump, obviously, and Marco Rubio and Trump's team, they just decided, you know what, we're not going to sit around and wait for them to come back and resume the conversation. And President Trump basically just decided,
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care. They've got to be stopped.
And that was in 2016. So the president has been incredibly consistent on all of this. Coming up at 6:35, a military and political analyst, Richard Newton, is going to be joining us. And he spent a lot of years in the Air Force as a bomber pilot. So I can't wait to talk to this guy about how he feels this campaign is going. He is an analyst, military and political analyst for News Nation. Looking forward to that conversation coming up at 6:35 here on Nashville's Morning News. Joan has the news coming up at 6. Joan.
Yeah, coming up, we've got the latest on what's happening in Iran this morning with ABC News. Also, a child sexual abuse sweep in Sumner County. Details on that at the 6 o'clock newscast coming up here on Super Talk 99.7
right,
WTF.
So I got to clean something up.
What?
His name is not Richard Fig, which is apparently what I said.
Yeah,
it's Richard Newton. But so
you got Fig Newtons on the brain, buddy?
No. Here's the thing. His nickname, I'm actually technically right because his nickname is Fig.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But as a matter of fact, they said that I could call him Dick Newton if I so chose. And so, but I'm going to call him Richard because I don't know him well enough to call him Dick, which is the short form of Richard. But his name is Richard Newton. Sam, make sure that I don't screw this up when I get the dude on the air.
So what you're saying is you're not up to Dick.
I'm anyway.
Oh my gosh.
What is going on with your head today? I don't even, you know what? Just erase what I just said.
That's a phrase from the 20s, by the way. It means you're not feeling well.
Oh, is it?
Fact check me.
I don't care to fact check you. I've got a lot of things I've got to talk about today, Sam, and that's not one of them. Anyway, Richard Newton is going to join us here at 6:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 558 Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. All right, real quickly, Joan, you just sent me something that I want to hear. This is a little 7-year-old that rocked the national anthem at a soccer game, a professional soccer game over the weekend. And apparently this went, this is 7 years old.
7 years old. And this is 17 million views that this little girl got. And because of the way she sang it. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Sam, oh, I see. Hold on here. No.
Social Night Contest winner, the tiny but mighty 7-year-old singer from Los Angeles, Malaya Emma Chandragwijaya.
It's from China.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
She's just getting started.
Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rang the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Wow. That is amazing.
Like, I'm crying over here.
I mean, she went up like 2 or 3 octaves
Yeah.
in that one.
Yeah.
Then she goes into the growl thing, which was
Yeah.
unique. Anyway, 7 years old.
I have tears.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I get that way too. You get that way, Sam, when people sing the national anthem so incredibly and inspirational?
When Chris Stapleton shredded it on the guitar in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, I was Nick Sirianni on the sidelines, just
Yeah.
beautiful.
All right, got to go. It's running late, but as we like to say, running late but worth it. It is a 6:02 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got the latest here on Iran by U.S. and Israeli forces from ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Sherry Preston. Drones, presumably from Iran, intercepted over Saudi Arabia's biggest oil refinery this morning. Plumes of smoke seen rising above it. Several U.S. military planes crashing in Kuwait, but all crew members on board are safe, according to Kuwaiti officials. Iran's Red Crescent reporting that 555 people have died in the U.S.-led attack in Iran so far. ABC's Marcus Moore with reaction to the death of Iran's supreme leader.
Iranians taking to the streets, some celebrating, others mourning the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. He was killed in a strike Saturday. The CIA had been tracking the 86-year-old for months. Sources say agents learned about a meeting of top leaders with the Ayatollah planned for Saturday, prompting the U.S. and Israel to strike.
President Trump telling ABC's Jonathan Karl he expects the war to last around 4 to 5 weeks. This is ABC News.
Well, here in the Nashville area, a months-long investigation into child sexual abuse in Sumner County, and it's led to the arrest of 6 people. Here's WSMV4's Danielle Ledbetter.
Suspects are from all over. Some are from Hendersonville, Gallatin, Goodlettsville, and Mount Juliet. And one man was even extradited from California to face charges. All 6 suspects are being held on bonds of at least $1 million each.
All of those arrests taking place over the last 10 weeks. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
Stocks were poised to fall fast at the opening bell on the first trading day after U.S.-led military strikes on Iran. Dow futures overnight were down more than 600 points. Meanwhile, crude oil prices spiked more than 8%. A disruption in the supply of Mideast oil is expected to hit. GasBuddy expects the national average for a gallon of regular to top $3 soon. It may hit $3.15 in a week or two. The other fallout from the strikes on Iran has been air travel chaos worldwide. The State Department has issued a global caution for Americans as thousands of airline flights are canceled in Qatar, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Sharp losses on the futures market. The Dow futures right now down 510. That's the latest news. Stick around for traffic. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Little wet on the roads this morning. Got a crash on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard in the westbound lanes at the Center Point Road exit number 2. It's stop and go from New Shackle Island Road because of it. Now, there is police activity as well on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, the westbound side before I-65. The right shoulder is blocked off there. In Creve Hall, Harding Place at Trousdale Drive, there's a crash. At the airport on 40 westbound, it's at Briley Parkway East. And you've got an accident as well. No, this is police activity, again, at Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Just keep that in mind this morning as you're traveling. Vietnam Veterans Boulevard has had a couple of areas where there is some police activity. Not sure what's happening out there. Slowing on westbound 24-2, that's just volume. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:08, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cloudy today, showers and a high of 65. Nashville's Morning News, powered by Tennessee National Golf and Waterfront Community at TennesseeNational.com. We have a lot going on this morning. Good morning to you. Coming up at 6:35, Richard Newton. He is a lieutenant general. He is a former bomber pilot, many years in the Air Force. These days, he is a military and political analyst for News Nation and also for Nashville's Morning News. Looking forward to speaking to him coming up at 6:35. At 7:06, Brian Wilson is going to be here in studio. Looking forward to Brian being here. We're going to, of course, talk about the biggest issue of the morning, which is the ongoing situation in Iran. Brian also has a source, Joan, inside NES. And he's going to tell us a little bit about what goes on when some of these politicians and some of these country stars call NES and say, hey, look, my power's out. And, do we know when it's going to be back on? And what that does, what impact does that have on the rest of Nashvillians getting their power back on? So we're going to talk about a number of different things with Brian Wilson. And again, that is coming up at 7:06 here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 7:35, you do have Scott DeJarlais, Congressman, who will also be joining us. And so one of the things that as the bombing does continue in Iran, of course, bombing other Middle Eastern nations as well. Doha, the United Arab Emirates, to name just a few. Dubai is another one. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, Joan. All right, so I want to play a piece of audio for you. And this is Senator Mark Kelly. He has come out, and this kind of went viral, I think probably for the wrong reasons. First of all, Democrats not liking what the president is doing, has done in Iran, as it is as predictable as the sun going up. This is Senator Mark Kelly, and this was the morning after the attacks began.
Hey, folks, this morning, the United States, while this administration launched a major attack on Iran, as I see this, hey, there's no real plan here. And often these things do not go the way people think they do, especially the people that don't serve in the military, like this president. Often they're the ones that think every solution is to drop a bomb. And by the way,
I love how he says, he makes a point to say that Donald Trump never served, right? Last time I checked, neither did Joe Biden. Last time I checked, neither did Barack Obama. So I think that is kind of a really petulant and petty thing to say, this Democrat Senator Mark Kelly. Here's more.
This is the guy that got us into this mess anyway. He, in his first term, he ripped up the Iran nuclear deal, which then put the Iranians on a path to further enrich uranium. Did that strike this summer that operationally was a success. Strategically, as we see now, not so much.
So clearly, number one, again, no, Donald Trump never served, but he's got military advisors all around him. And here's the other thing. Whether it is the first strike against Iran or when we took out Maduro or, took Maduro in, those were just precisely, exquisitely planned. Now, if you'd like to talk about Joe Biden's horrifically planned pullout of Afghanistan, Mark Kelly, we certainly can. But, I mean, if you're going to sit here and you're going to try to say, oh, Donald Trump has no plan, I don't know about that, because he has actually done now, I believe, 3, because I think that this was a well-executed plan, this attack against Iran. And so he now has 3 really well-executed military operations that he has been able to, with his military advisors, been able to implement. So for Mark Kelly, again, not real surprising, but we took out the leader of Iran, and at least now, and the number keeps going up, 48 other officials as well. But, this was a mission that had multiple fronts. And yes, again, we took out military targets, we took out political targets, we took out targets connected to the Islamic Republic, infrastructure related to the military, Iranian oil fields and airfields, I should say. So yeah, it seems to me like there was a plan and it was executed. And so I think that for a lot of these Democrats, if this military operation ends up being the success that Donald Trump believes that it's going to be, and that I hope that it will be, and I do believe that it'll be a success, then some of these comments, they're just not going to age well. Rachel Maddow, of course, she came out over the weekend as well.
And when you, Donald Trump, in your baseball hat, proclaimed on that weird taped message today that the Iranian police and the security forces and the Revolutionary Guard must surrender, they must lay down their weapons, as Donald Trump said this morning at 2:30, if that was what you wanted to happen, because you wanted the domestic security situation to become less dangerous for the Iranian people to rise up and overthrow their government, if you actually wanted to make that happen, instead of just saying it, you as the U.S. government, maybe you as the U.S. government in coalition with other allies that you might have bothered to bring on board, you might have given the Iranian police and Revolutionary Guard and security services some instructions on how to surrender and lay down their weapons.
Hey, can anybody answer this question? Does Rachel Maddow have like secret clearances and top secret clearances and that kind of thing? How the H does she know what has been offered and what hasn't? Now, the president came out, this was last night, played this audio earlier, and he said that some of these military troops in Iran, that they have, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, that they have now begun to lay down their arms. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll see if Richard Newton has anything to say about this when I have him on at 6:35. But she also says something about bringing our allies in the region on board. She says if he had bothered to bring our allies in the region on board, some were and some weren't. I think that everybody, all of our allies, have obviously concerns. But Donald Trump has been working on this since he came back into office. As a matter of fact, he's been working on this for years, since the first administration. But you remember that tour of the Middle East that Donald Trump took? This was, I don't even remember when it was, but he was, Joan, you were with me. You and I were talking about this. It was the United Arab Emirates. I think he went to Doha as well. But that's part of what he was doing. He was getting our allies on board. But here's the deal. If we sat around and waited for the Middle East to agree to all of this, we would never take any action ever.
Or if we were Joe Biden or any other typical politician. President Trump isn't a politician. He's a transactional dude that gets it. He just gets it.
Joan, Shingang, I'm going to pronounce it. Shanga Koala.
Koala.
You know, I think it's that last part where he musters out koala or whatever that was that I find especially funny.
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if it was actually even koala, but he says kuwawa.
By the way, just see, before all this happened, I think it was Friday at some point. I didn't even bother to play the audio, pull the audio. He's completely irrelevant at this point. But Joe Biden is out there. I guess he's now on the banquet circuit, Joan. And so he's out there. And you know what's odd? It's been, a year or so since he's been out of office, and he still makes no sense. Iran ended up launching drones at Israel, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Iraq. They fired at our military installations and our allies. And so, the bombing does continue. It is 6:15 right now. Time to check the roads on WTN. All right, it's 6:17, and as far as your weather for today, cloudy with showers and a high of 65. Somebody's saying, hey, Dan, you're going to mention this is one of the haters, Joan. I don't think he's a hater, but I had a few people actually mention this. Hey, Dan, you're going to mention that the polling shows that people across America don't approve of the attacks against Iran. I mentioned it in the 5 twice. It was actually part of a larger conversation that we had.
Wake up early, dude.
Listen. You miss a moment, you miss a lot on Nashville's Morning News.
What the heck?
Here's more from Rachel Maddow.
You probably could have taken some steps to help that happening, to make sure they can organize and can communicate, right? Maybe you would have turned the internet back on.
All right, so that is Rachel Maddow. Memo to Rachel Maddow. Elon Musk has been doing this for a while now, helping out the people of Iran. So
and didn't we hack their television network and give them a broadcast and let them know that we're behind them and they should rise up against their government?
We did all kinds of stuff. I mean, we hacked into their military apparatus as well. Tammy Duckworth, of course, another Democrat. This is what she had to say.
I'm deeply concerned that President Trump is breaking his promises to the American people yet once again. He said he would get us out of forever wars, and yet here we go. He's putting American lives and national security at risk by these strikes on Iran. It's clear to me that this is a long-planned, deeply calculated move by him.
So what's weird is you just heard her say that this is part of a long-planned, deeply calculated move. And I guess I'm a little confused because another Democrat, Mark Kelly, I just played you the audio where he said,
as I see this, hey, there's no real plan here.
So the Democrats can't seem to get their talking points correct, right? So did he have no plan, according to Mark Kelly? Or did Donald Trump have a long-planned plan, according to Senator Tammy Duckworth? I have no idea. You know, these...
Well, hey, Senator Tammy Duckworth, if you were part of the Gang of Eight, which you are not, you would know what was happening beforehand. Because President Trump informed the gang. He only got 7 of the Gang of Eight by phone before the strikes began.
Do you know what was awesome, Joan? I love that you brought that up. So on Saturday, you had all of these people on the left, of course, screaming, right, that Donald Trump didn't consult Congress, right? Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
And then out comes the news. Marco Rubio actually spoke to, the Democrats in the House, the Democrats in the Senate. I think it was, the Intelligence Committee, whatever it is. But all these different committees as well. So he told the Gang of Eight. He did, through Marco Rubio. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh, crap, now what's our talking point, right? This is... Let's see. All right. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I don't know what this audio bite is, but let's hear it anyway.
Now, over time, those who are critical may feel vindicated.
Oh, this is Brit Hume. This is great. So Brit Hume talking about the Democrats as they continue to scream about Donald Trump doing the wrong thing. This is, again, Brit Hume.
Now, over time, those who are critical may feel vindicated if things start to go badly. But if they don't, they're going to be stuck with this. They're going to be the people that it will be argued didn't want to take this evil Iranian regime down. If the Iranian regime goes down and things turn out well in Iran, that will be a burden around their necks.
Well, it will be, and so we'll have to see ultimately what happens. This could be, and I've said this before, this could be the greatest thing Donald Trump ever does or did, or the worst. Like it could be either one. Because if we end up in some sort of a huge Middle Eastern war, which I don't actually believe that's going to happen, but if we end up in a larger scale regional war, Lord help us if China, for whatever reason, gets involved with Iran and trying to help Iran militarily, then this could blow up into something really, really bad. I don't believe that that's going to happen, but if this ultimately goes well for Iran and we end up with a more, westernized Iran and we get some people in there that are more interested in making money and selling oil on the open market and doing whatever it is that they can do to further the cause of the Iranian people, then as Ted Cruz said, this could, and many have said, this could absolutely change not only the face of the Middle East, but the face of the world. And so we'll have to wait and see how this whole thing plays out. It is 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Joan's got the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, so have any of those missiles hit Iran's nuclear facilities? We'll take a look. Also, investigators searching for any directive from Iran after a man opens fire on bar patrons over the weekend. Those stories at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.622 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Richard Newton is going to be joining us at 6:35. He is a military and political analyst. And for you folks who are wondering why I paused there, is because I wanted to call him Richard Fig again, which because his nickname is Fig Newton, but his actual name is Richard Newton. Anyway, He is a longtime bomber pilot for the Air Force. He is also a military and political analyst for News Nation. He's going to join us at 6:35 on Super Talk 99.7 Window Nation. Listen, if your heat or AC is running more than it should, no matter the weather, you've got to call my friends at Window Nation, because it's probably because your Windows installation is failing. Now, that's why you would need to call Window Nation, because right now, the more windows you buy, the more savings you could enjoy. Up to 50% off all window styles. So be sure to ask about Window Nation's financing options as well, including $0 down and payments as little as $199 a month. A great deal from my friends at Window Nation. Every single month, they've got new ways to make sure that you save. Again, right now, the more you buy, the more savings you can enjoy. Up to 50% off all window styles, plus great financing options as well, including no money down and payments as little as $199 a month. Remember, I've got 4 windows from Window Nation in my home, including 2 in my all-important basement studio. Now, this is a company that has an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and over 45,000 5-star reviews. This is why you need to contact Window Nation if you're planning on new windows for your home. Check them out. It is windownation.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. windownation.com. Well, if there's one thing that we've all learned is that we simply cannot count on NES or the government for anything, which is why I'm reaching out to my friends at the Generator Super Center to start figuring out my backup power needs. Now, how about you? Now, one of the things that, of course, again, we learned from the power outages from the last couple of months is that you need to be able to keep your power on even when the power in your neighborhood is out. Now, the Generator Super Center, they can fit your home with a backup home standby generator. This is a great company. I've learned all about backup home standby generators from my time in Indiana when I had one and we were hit with some power outages. Really saved me and my family from a lot of hardship. So if you've been talking about this with your family, talk to the pros at the Generator Super Center. Now, they are the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, the Generator Super Center. This is a great company. This is not only a huge investment in your home, but also your family's safety. So check them out today. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-879-1952. These generators do feature expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, to name just a few. They're not going to leave you in the dark, and financing is available. Tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-879-1952, Generator Super Center of Nashville.com.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And the Ayatollah is dead. So are 48 of his high-level buddies. But the UN nuclear watchdog says there's no indication so far that Israeli and U.S. strikes on Iran have hit any nuclear facilities. The IAEA's Rafael Grossi saying that there have been no elevated levels of radiation above the usual background levels. His comments come after Iran's ambassador to the IAEA said Sunday that Natanz, one of Iran's 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities, had been attacked. Iran's missiles, by the way, landing on its neighbors, and now those countries had turned against Iran. Qatar saying it reserves the right to retaliate against Iran, adding that Iranian strikes cannot go unanswered and the price has to be paid. Qatar has faced more than 100 missiles and scores of drones and said that those strikes were targeting civilian and commercial infrastructure. The FBI has now joined in the search for answers for that mass shooting in Austin, Texas, in a bar over the weekend. And it's possible nexus to terrorism.
Witnesses tell police that a man in an SUV pulled up to a bar on Austin's popular West 6th Street, turned on his hazard lights, and opened fire with a handgun on people sitting on the patio. He then circled the block, got out, and came down the sidewalk with an assault-style rifle.
Officers were coming toward him, and at the intersection, he was shot, and he was killed.
But not before. Police Chief Lisa Davis says 2 bar patrons were killed and 14 were wounded, 3 of them critically. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
That is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. 631, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. So you've done your firearms training, but have you ever wondered if you're ready, really ready to meet the moment when your life and maybe your family's life is on the line? Well, that's why I am so glad that I did my training at the Glock store. And yes, they're Shoot 270 indoor ranges. Now, I've done it all with low light, no light training, and one-on-one instruction, among many other things. But next up, the Glock store has taken their training to an all-new level with their force-on-force simunition exercise. They put you in a simulated situation where deadly force may well be necessary to save your life or someone else's. Now, this is where it really gets real, if you know what I mean. You're armed with a Glock 17T, which, by the way, is used to train SWAT and U.S. Special Forces. So you can test your reflexes, your marksmanship, making split-second decisions in a realistic life-or-death live-action simulation. So if you want to try it, go to their website. It is shoot270.com. Click on training and then classes. That's shoot270.com, training, and then classes. Now, I'm going to be doing this here, I think it's next week. These are truly unique force-on-force training sessions. They do begin on March 21st. Slots are going fast, so you want to check them out, shoot270.com. The Glock store, real training for real-life situations, only at shoot270.com and only at the Glock store.
Well, there are some problems this morning in Nashville on Bell Road eastbound at Blue Hole Road. That's a crash in Goodlettsville, Vietnam Veterans Boulevard, the westbound side on-ramp from Center Point Road, exit 2. The right shoulder of that ramp is blocked off this morning on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard westbound at Center Point. Oh, it's on the screen for 2 times. I'm not really sure why. Crashed this morning in Goodlettsville on Vietnam Veterans Boulevard before the Conference Drive exit 1. So that's exit 1 and exit 2. They're being affected by traffic accidents this morning. Rural Hill 24 westbound at Bell Road. That's exit 59. There is a crash reported there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.636 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on to Nashville's Morning News, powered by Tennessee National Golf and Waterfront Community. Find them online, TennesseeNational.com. Cloudy and showers, a high of 65 today. And I want to welcome on into the program senior security analyst for News Nation, our guest right now. And it's Richard Newton joining us. I guess your call sign is Tiger?
And Dan, good morning. It was. I commanded the first B-2 Stealth Bomber Squadron commander, and we were the Tigers, so the call sign stuck with me.
I love that. Now, you were a bomber pilot for many years, and again, now you're a senior security analyst for News Nation. Appreciate you joining us here in Nashville. Let's talk about this first. You know, here in the last hour, we found out that three of our military airplanes were shot down by Kuwait. How does that happen? Now, luckily, the pilots all were able to eject safely, but walk us through how that happens.
Well, what's as far as been, we're now in our third 24-hour period. So we've had 2 goes as a military campaign planner. You know, the first 24 hours kicked off about 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, then another 24 hours. Now we're in our third wave of 24 hours. By the way, extraordinarily bold, near flawless execution of an extraordinary historical joint U.S.-Israeli military campaign. However, this fog of war incident that occurred over Kuwait, you anticipate that, you plan for it, you don't want it at all as a combat pilot certainly over friendly territory. But I'm sure what happened was the friendly fire incident, either through lack of communication, obviously, or mistaking those 3 F-15 aircraft that were mistakenly shot down by air defenses. Thankfully, all 3 sets of crews, which is 6 United States Air Force airmen, have been recovered safely, and I'm sure they're going to be anxious to get back in the fight. But that's this is the fog of war. You deal with it and you move on. You keep striking targets.
Lieutenant General Richard Newton joining us on WTN. All right, let's zoom out. You just said a little bit about the mission. We got Ayatollah El Khamenei dead, 48 of his generals at least dead as well. Attacks all across Iran. Tell me your thoughts on the scope of this attack. You called it, I think you said the word historic. Tell me how good of an attack was this? How well executed was it? Would you say this is on par with what we did to arrest Maduro and the first attack on Iran last summer?
Absolutely. Well beyond the Maduro capture and with his wife, by the way, who are in a federal jail in Brooklyn. But thus far, this has been, as I mentioned, a very bold execution. There's a lot of firsts here. Number one, the complexity. We had on the first 24 hours, 2,000 combat sorties, Dan, and so forth, flown by the United States and Israel. So the complexity of this in terms of that alone is extraordinary. The objectives has been to go after, right off the bat, was the leadership. Ayatollah Khamenei and his 40 plus of his henchmen are gone. They're off the map. We're focusing also on retaliatory capability and achieving air superiority. We have achieved air superiority, or at least on the cusp of that. Think of the size of Iran, 93 million people, about the size of Alaska, 2.5 times the size of Texas. That's extraordinary. And so what you're going to see in the next 48 hours in terms of scope We're going to continue focusing on the Iranian retaliatory campaign, those ballistic missiles, those drones, those cruise missiles. The objective here is to get their threat ring getting smaller and smaller and smaller in terms of them threatening not only the United States forces, not only Israel, but our Gulf Arab nations and our allies. There's no nation in the Gulf region, I'm saying Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Jordan. None of these nations have now been left off the map in terms of Iran striking back to them. So you're seeing a regional war, but you're also seeing what I believe is going to be continued diminishing of Iranian striking capabilities. And then you're going to focus on, part of the plan will be going into elements of how the regime has been sustained for decades, continue their leadership. Next man up, we're going to take them off the map, much like we did in the war on terror leading up to the takedown of bin Laden. You're going to see Islamic Republican Guard Corps. We're going to continue to attack their leadership, but also their capabilities, about 200,000 IRGC members. We're going to go after the besieged militia. These are about 1 million or so. They're the ones that swing the pipes in the streets and kill Iranian citizens at gunpoint, as we saw back in January. You're certainly going to see elements of the police state, their command and control, as well as their Iranian military industrial base that builds the ballistic missiles and the drones and the cruise missiles that threaten the U.S., Israel, and allies. A lot to unpack there, but that's in a nutshell what you're seeing has occurred thus far and what you're going to see in the next 48 to 96 hours in the coming days. And perhaps, as President Trump said at his presser, probably anticipate this up to 4 weeks.
Okay, so that is my next question, which is, do you believe that the president and our military will be able to keep that 4-week goal? Do you think it'll maybe be less than 4 weeks? Do you think it may stretch longer than that?
It depends. And that's exactly the ongoing discussions with General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, relaying commands as well as the perspectives of the president as the commander-in-chief to Admiral Brad Cooper, who's the commander of the U.S. Central Command as well. But the focus is going to be on relentlessly going after a very rich target environment. And I guarantee you there are hundreds, if not thousands, of target folders that we will focus on. That it's not just air, it's air, sea-based, but also in today's warfare environment, cyber, specifically offensive cyber capabilities, things to disrupt the command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's to disrupt the ability for the Iranian regime to be able to hear and see and so forth. My problem with that, we saw during the extraordinarily well-executed capture of Madar. We saw just a very small snippet of that in exquisite, tactical surprise, the tactical capture of Madaro. What you're seeing now play out over the next several weeks is the grand strategy of that playing out and the operational piece of this that will stretch itself for the coming weeks.
Let's talk about the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They have, and you and I have spoken before, they have, they're more than just a military part of the Iranian government. I mean, they actually, they are embedded deeply in various parts of the Iranian government. President Trump said last night that some of these folks are coming in and because the president said he was going to give them immunity, and President Trump saying that some are calling them and laying down their arms and so forth. Have you seen any evidence of that? And how will we ever really know what's going on with the IRGC?
Well, I have not seen any evidence of that. However, the president is much closer to the fight than I am in terms of being updated on probably a minute-by-minute basis. However, as I mentioned, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're the ones that kicked off the revolution back in March of 1979 and really created the basis, the infrastructure, the sustainment capability for the Ayatollahs and the mullahs to continue to maintain control over the 93 million Iranian citizens who want to break free of that, obviously. But they're the ones that have much sway and power in terms of keeping the theocracy regime in power. They're also the ones that are responsible for the organization, the training, and the equipping of terrorist organizations, those proxies. Iran has been the largest exporter of terror in the world. And that source of that export capability is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Think Hezbollah in Lebanon. Think Hamas in Gaza. Think Houthis in Yemen. Think about the Iraqi Shiite militia in Iraq and elsewhere, as well as sponsoring these terror cells that are around the world, pockets of them. But this really emanates out of the training and the control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So they are key. Whether or not they come over to the side of the Iranian people who really are now destined to reclaim their nation or not, that's to be seen. But they get a choice. I guarantee you this military campaign with all the mights of U.S. power, Israeli power, and others will find, fix, target, and kill every last one of them if that's the objective here. But we'd like to, if I'm the President of the United States, as well as Admiral Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, we'd like to see them, turn in their arms and try to come back over to supporting the Islamic or disregard the Iranian people rather than creating havoc against the Iranian people.
Lieutenant General Richard Newton, sir, hold on one sec for 15 seconds. I've got to check the traffic real quick. I'm going to ask you about a couple of things coming back. Number one is, what have we learned, if anything, about Iran's military as far as their response goes? Has there been any surprise where, we were surprised that maybe they were stronger than we thought or maybe weaker than we thought? And also, I want to talk to you about what happened in Austin, Texas, where we had what is being called, and I believe that it is, a terror attack there by somebody clearly who is an Iranian sympathizer. So those two questions coming up. We'll return in about 15 seconds. Time to check the roads on WTN. Cloudy with showers and a high of 65. All right, Lieutenant General Richard Newton. What have we learned about Iran's military in the last couple of days as they respond to our attacks and Israel's attacks?
Well, Dan, no surprises thus far. We had anticipated that they would attempt to be relentless in terms of their retaliatory operational aims, against the United States and certainly against Israel. Perhaps what we had not anticipated, that they would make direct attacks with their ballistic missiles and their drones and cruise missiles against Gulf Arab nations there in the region. As I mentioned, Oman, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and so forth. But my sources tell me, and from my perspective, their response specifically with short-range ballistic missiles ranging out to about 600 miles, and their medium-range ballistic missiles from about 600 miles to about 1,500 miles range capability, and their drones, has been a little bit less robust than perhaps what we saw last year in 2025, leading up to the Israeli 11-day air campaign capstoned by that B-2 bomber strike against their nuclear weapons development facilities on June 22nd. That's not to say that they are a potent ballistic missile capabilities. They have other abilities to go after, U.S. interests there, obviously, and U.S. forces as well as Israel and so forth. But what's happening now is a systematic, methodical air, sea, and cyber campaign to go after specifically their retaliatory capability, their ballistic missiles, their cruise missiles, and their drones, as well as their not only the launchers of those ballistic missiles, but the stockpiles. So what you're going to see is that what I call, think of Iran as a major threat ring in the Mideast that threatens, U.S., Israel, and Gulf nations. That threat ring is going to get smaller, till about nothing, because the United States and Israel are relentlessly going to go after those retaliatory capabilities. So that's what you're seeing play out here. That's going to take some time. Again, as I mentioned to put our listeners in perspective, Iran is about the size of Alaska. It's 2.5 times the size of Texas. That's a lot of territory to cover. But now that we have achieved air superiority, and you're going to see that we're going to go after waves of attacks from the air, and those sea-based Tomahawk cruise missiles, and well as using very effective offensive cyber capabilities.
We know, sir, that Joe Biden had a wide-open border for 4 years. A couple of outlets have been talking about what, frankly, talk radio has been talking about for a long time, which is the possibility of sleeper cells in America. We did see what happened over the weekend in Austin, Texas. A guy wearing a Property of Allah T-shirt and Iranian T-shirt underneath that sweatshirt. They go to his home. He had a bunch of photographs of Iranian leaders, and he also had a Quran in his vehicle. How worried are you? And he killed a bunch of folks there in Texas in a bar. How worried are you that we're going to see more of these kinds of attacks? The guy, by the way, was from Senegal.
Well, I think absolutely. Secretary of Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem has raised the threat warning, that being more of an awareness for the American people, as well as the FBI on down with state law enforcement officials down to local. I slept well last night, frankly, because I have great confidence in, the protection that those federal entities as well as local provide for, my family and I and so forth. So I want to underscore to the American people and certainly for our listeners that this is not to walk on eggshells and look around every corner. However, there are threats out there. And as I mentioned in our previous commentary with regard to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they train these terrorist extremists in small pockets to go around the world, in Europe, and certainly there are existing in the United States. But I'm very confident, especially with regard to DHS and the FBI, and now the much more effective synchronization and communication since 9/11 with local law enforcement and state law enforcement as well. This one actor that you have, one bad actor in Austin, Texas, we've got, 340 million, people in the United States, of course. But notice how that action on his part and the fact that local law enforcement, certainly communicating with federals, unfortunately, he acted, but the reaction was so fast and swift. But we're just going to have to anticipate that. And the fact that we're striking targets against Iran right now, we would anticipate perhaps those sleeper cells, as you say, to be perhaps alerted and see if they take action. It reminds me back when when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait back in August of 1990, and then we acted with Desert Storm in January of 1991 for several weeks. There was a rise in certainly the threat of those who want to do bad against the United States and American citizenry, perhaps Islamic, radical Islamic terrorist cells and so forth acting. That was subdued, just like this one was subdued as well, but we have to be on air. My final point is to our listeners, if you see something that just doesn't look right, again, I'm not talking eggshells or there's a bad person around every bush. I'm not suggesting that. But if you see something, say something to local law enforcement. That's really where the citizenry comes out and helps support stem what any small chance that we could be threatened.
Senior security analyst for News Nation and our guest, Lieutenant General Richard Newton. How can folks find you on X?
I've got my website, lieutenantgeneralnewton.com. I can also be found on News Nation as a senior national security contributor, and I'm on air constantly. So I'll be coming to your radio or your TV anytime soon. But I'm always delighted to be with you, Dan, and have a really great conversation. And I'm sure we'll be talking more.
Absolutely.
Final point is, I think really my thoughts and prayers are with those 3 Americans who were killed in action in Kuwait, as well as the 5 severely wounded. President Trump has expressed his obviously his heartwarming regards to the family members of those. Final point is it's another demonstration, as noble as I believe this cause is, frankly, in support of U.S. national security objectives. Freedom is not free. We have a son-in-law serving in the United States Air Force Special Operations as a lieutenant colonel. He's been serving 7 combat deployments and so forth. The purpose here of what we're doing is to compel our American men and women to serve valiantly, yes, but to come home and continue with their lives. But again, we have 2 million men and women in uniform who volunteer to go to the sound of guns. And our thoughts and prayers are with those 3 Americans killed in action and those wounded. They've got a long road to come back, but nonetheless, we should be very proud of our military, be very proud of what the Trump administration has done here. This is going to be a long fight, but it's one that with great purpose. And I believe that we are going to change the course of the Mideast for a better world for generations to come.
All right, Lieutenant General Richard Newton joining us. Thank you very much. And absolutely, I would love to have you back. It is 6:55, running late, but worth it. Joan, what do we got coming up in the news at 7?
Yeah, coming up here, the death toll for U.S. troops has just risen this morning. And just how did the U.S. wipe out the Ayatollah and 48 leaders all at once? We've got some insight into that. It's coming up at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It is March. Lots of weddings being planned right now. And I can tell you the best place for engagement rings is Brentwood Jewelry. They've got to check out their vast selection of wedding bands and semi-mount engagement rings and loose diamonds as well. They have rings for every budget and every style for both men and women. Now, Brentwood Jewelry is the official jewelry store of the Mandis household. I've actually bought Amy a couple of amazing pairs of earrings. She bought me my favorite watch, which I wear almost daily. But you know what else that they have there? And I was just perusing their website, as a matter of fact, over the weekend. And if you're a lady looking for a great gift for the guy in your life, what about a pocket knife from the William Henry Knife Collection? They're actually really cool. So this is a gift that truly does stand out, handcrafted with aerospace-grade materials, rare hardwoods, and stunning inlays as well. Really, really awesome pocket knives. If you want to check them out, Brentwood Jewelry, you can find it on their website, brentwoodjewelry.com. Some say, by the way, they're more than just a knife. It's a functional work of art. Check them out online, brentwoodjewelry.com, 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. And again, that website, one more time, tell them Dan Mandis Show that to reach out, brentwoodjewelry.com.
Good morning, 7 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A fourth brave American troop has died this morning in the conflict with Iran. CENTCOM just this morning saying that the fourth service member who was seriously wounded during Iran's initial attacks eventually succumbed to their injuries. More now with ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Sherry Preston. As the United States and Israel continue pounding sites in Iran, Iran fires back, striking numerous targets in the Middle East, including a U.S. military base in Kuwait. 3 U.S. service members killed. Lebanon also involved, says ABC's James Longman in the region.
There is a very real possibility that this becomes something much bigger than President Trump can control. Already, Israel says it's striking targets in Lebanon, claiming Hezbollah has fired on them. This is existential for so many groups in this region.
Hezbollah strongly aligned with Iran. Qatar Energy saying today will stop its production of liquefied natural gas as the Middle East war rages on, taking one of the world's top suppliers off the market. 2 drones were intercepted over Saudi Arabia's largest oil refinery today. The price of oil spiking overnight, and Dow futures have been sliding all night long as traders worry about the cost of oil and uncertainty in the Middle East. This is ABC News.
Meantime, CNN is reporting that it has been receiving footage from inside Iran today showing large explosions in the capital city of Tehran. Iranian state media outlets also sharing clips of explosions in several parts of central Tehran today. Now, the U.S. was apparently playing the long game long before the opening salvo this weekend. Here's Fox News' Will Kane.
So how did the U.S. do it? How did we strike at the very top of a closed regime deep inside Iran? Well, the CIA had been tracking Ayatollah Khamenei for months, mapping his movements, his security, his inner circle. Intel picked up on a high-level meeting, top regime leaders, all in one place. That's when the strike was greenlit.
And it came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed 7 members of the Gang of 8. The last one, he said, he was unable to reach. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Global defense stocks jumping early this morning. It's a reaction, of course, to the military escalation in the Middle East. And that includes U.S. firms like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. Oil prices and energy company shares also surging this morning. That could spell some higher prices at the gasoline for all of us. Right now, the futures markets are much lower. Dow futures minus 552, the NASDAQ futures losing 371, and the S&P futures are down 80 points. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. There is a lot going on in Goodlettsville this morning. Springfield Highway, southbound before Louisville Highway. There's a crash in that spot. Vietnam Veterans Boulevard on the westbound side at Center Point Road, exit 2. A crash in the right shoulder is blocked off by it. You have some delays on 24 West heading in this morning, starting around the Laverne area. That's just simply volume. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:05, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, very active today, 615-737-9986. Brian Wilson is joining us in studio. Brian, how are you this morning? Welcome to the 7 o'clock hour.
Good morning to you, Dan. Good to be with you.
So a lot going on in regards to Iran. They're now saying that they refuse to negotiate with the United States. President Trump is saying that the bombing campaign could take 4 weeks. And Joan, you said, I was visiting with Brian in the studio, but you said the number of service members has now risen from 3
to 4, yes.
To 4. So now we have 4.
Yeah.
This is one of the troops that was injured in the initial attack in Kuwait.
Okay.
And so he just succumbed to his injuries. So,
okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Joan. And as President Trump said over the weekend, this is going to be a 4-week campaign, and we will probably see more casualties. And so I know that you, of course, been covering the terrorism of Iran for many, many years, of course, from your vantage point on Capitol Hill and Washington, D.C., covering various presidents as well. So give me your first blush.
Well, during the first Persian Gulf War, I was stationed over at the Pentagon. I was relocated over there, and then for the second war, I was working for Fox and did overnight coverage of that. And so, yeah, I mean, it brings back a great deal of memories of what we saw back then. Look, it seems like to me the initial strike was, I love the fact they had an opportunity and they said, okay, scrap the plan. Let's be flexible here and let's go with this opportunity. And apparently it was a real decapitation event. I mean, now the leadership of Iran is absolutely in shambles. But they still have some capability, as we've seen, lobbing missiles here and there all over that entire region, causing mayhem. I was quite surprised that they took that tack. Didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. A lot of people were staying, sort of off to the side and staying out of it. But when you start lobbing missiles in their direction, it's amazing how quickly they get involved. And that is what has happened.
Yeah, Iran bombed Dubai, Doha, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. I don't know if there's any other than those.
They're just trying to lay waste to the entire region, which sort of makes the case that everybody's been making.
Yep, that's exactly
Iran.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's
Do you think if they had nukes right now that they wouldn't use them? Of course they would.
Absolutely. It is interesting because one guy, my feeling on this has been that, and I said on Friday that I'm not sold on this because we don't know what is going to happen as far as a new government in Iran. And so was it a successful military strike? It certainly seems so. What's going to happen in the next 4 weeks? We're probably going to take out more of these Islamic Revolutionary Guards. They got to figure out who the new leadership is going to be. I still have reservations. I can have some admiration for the way that we were able to use the word that's being utilized, decapitated their government and some of their military capabilities, but still have reservations as far as what's next.
Yeah, I don't have the vision that, of course, the leader of the free world has right now. We don't know what intelligence he has that's not known generally. So I mean, I'm willing to trust only because I think when you look at what happened in Venezuela, completely successful. This is a much bigger task coming. Iran is not Venezuela.
No.
It's a much more difficult task to go in there and try to operate in that environment. And there are going to be chaotic moments like we saw today, where when you're shoving that much manpower and machinery and weaponry into a small area, there are going to be these moments of, as you said, fog of war. Where we make mistakes, and apparently that is what happened today, as the Kuwaitis apparently shot down 3 of our F-15s.
Well, at least we know that sort of their anti-aircraft stuff works.
The good news is their anti-aircraft missiles work. The bad news is they got the wrong ones.
Yes. But luckily, though, everybody parachuted to safety.
Yeah, everybody was safe in the deal. But I got to tell you, that stuff is just going to happen.
Yeah.
It really is. And I would say the same thing about the chaos of the information. Information that you hear on day one may well change as we get deeper into this thing. And the initial reports are almost always wrong in a wartime situation. So take that into consideration. What you hear could be completely inoperative in 20 minutes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And as things change and as new information comes in, perspectives changes and
you perfect the information over time. That's right.
That is exactly right. Are you? Last question here, because there's other stuff we want to get to. But are you excited for the future of Iran? Are you?
Well, I would certainly say it's going to be very interesting to see whether the protest that we saw on the streets of Iran can morph into some kind of actual leadership and government that can go forward. I don't know if the Crown Prince is the right guy for that or not. Reza Pahlavi, I'm just not sure. But one way or the other, I think Trump has a plan. He's hinted at it, but he hasn't really revealed it as yet.
We'll have to see what happens. Let's transition to what's going on with NES. Now, everybody knows the story, the accusation against Senator Marsha Blackburn. It was made. Was it the Nashville? One of the liberal outlets that I don't read, but they said that Marsha Blackburn essentially was looking for preferential treatment from NES, made some phone calls and some emails, whatever it was, asking that her power be turned back on. And you have some sources within NES.
I do have some sources, an employee of NES, and I believe this to be credible information. When you have a situation like that, within their ranks, they have a term for it. It's called a government call. Oh, we got a government call. And what happens is there's a guy by the name of Jack Patel who will actually call the lineman's personal cell phone number. They won't do it. They won't do it on the radio, and they won't do it on the company cell phone because those are all recorded. But they will call an individual crew and say, "Look, it's Jack. I need you to get over here and work on this. This is a priority call."
Is Jack Patel like a code name, or is that like somebody's real name?
That's his real name.
Okay.
Now, what is interesting in this particular case, I cannot discern whether or not, I just don't know. Was it something that she requested, or was it something they just volunteered? It could go either way. So I don't know that she called up and said, "Hey, I need priority." I don't think that was the case. But what I can confirm is it did happen. Somebody went over to her place and got her electricity back up and running. The bigger story here is that my source says that this happens all the time in a situation like this, and that the source believes that there were between 30 and 50 such calls handed out by dispatch during all of this. Well, here's the problem. There's a method the way you go at this stuff. You go to the big lines first, and you work your way into the smaller lines. When you take somebody off one of the major projects to go do a VIP call, or what they call a government call, you are delaying the overall recovery significantly because you're taking people off what they really should be focused on, which is the bigger circuits first and working down then to the neighborhoods. That's the way it's supposed to be. So taking 30 to 50 of these so-called VIP or government calls dramatically delayed the overall response. And that's the thing that I think one of the things that we should know about. The other thing that I learned from the source, I think it's pretty interesting. We heard them say that on day one, they had 160 crews. As it turns out, they have 131 crew full-time and 37 apprentices. That comes to roughly 160. So apparently that's what they had ready to go on day one.
That doesn't sound like a lot.
No, it's not, because when you look at some of the other utilities, they had like 1,000 crews standing by ready to go. And NES did not. Basically, they were ready to go with what they always have, which was woefully inadequate to get the job done. Now, it took them a little while to ramp up, and they eventually got thousands of people in here to work on these things. But in the early going, they were completely satisfied with just going with what they had on hand, and didn't make apparently the recommendations or the moves they should have made to bring more people in and have them ready. That happened much later than it should have happened.
Okay, I've got some follow-up questions. Real quick, though, we got to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, cloudy showers and a high of 65. So, Brian, I got to ask, I've spoken to some NES folks as well. They actually called the radio station when all of this was going on. I spoke to some folks on the air and some people off the air. But the rank and file at NES, the linemen and stuff, they knew that they weren't ready.
They knew. I mean, it's always when. I think you can do a lot of good in the military or in what's going on, or with situations like this, and going to the front lines and just talking to the people. They know what's going on. I once covered a hearing where some very junior enlisted people were actually asked to testify. And at the end of it, the senators turned and said, this is probably the best hearing we've ever had because we got real frontline information. And don't ever discount what you're hearing from the people on the front line. They know the situation a lot better than the boneheads in the office.
Did your source, one of the things that is I think, part of this is that during the time when supposedly Marsha Blackburn's office, Senator, was calling Teresa Bowles-Applin, she was also calling for her resignation. So I do find it a little hard to believe that the senator would be, on the one hand, literally posting on X that she needed to resign, and at the same time asking for favors. That just it seems bizarre to me.
I don't think that my general feeling is, and I can't lock it down any further than this, is that some inquiries are made. Hey, when do you think my power is going to be back on? And then the company then overreacted and said, well, let's make sure we take care of her. She's out there in the public. We need to make sure she's happy. I mean, I can see how that thought process would go. I can't say that I know that Marsha Blackburn picked up and said, hey, get me up and running. This is ridiculous. I just don't, what I know of her, I don't think that sounds like her. And number two, if a staff person got a little rambunctious, that happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're right. I can see
everybody wants to take care of the boss. You know?
I can see NES just jumping on this, like, okay, the senator and a possible future governor.
This happens a lot. It happens with government officials. It happens with country music stars.
Not country music stars.
Apparently it does. That's what I'm told. So, it happens a lot. But the bigger issue, the thing we ought to perhaps think about more deeply, is exactly how that delayed. The other thing, very quickly, the source indicates that. There's a lot of reporting. I think the Tennessee Star and others did some reporting about how they cut back on their tree trimming budget. And everybody understands now, I think, that if you don't keep those trees trimmed, and then you pay a price for it when you get into a storm like this. And what I'm hearing is that all started back during the Megan Barry time, about 2018 window frame, when she came up with a canopy conservation program.
Yeah.
And that the city has its own horticulturalist. It's not easy to say, especially when you haven't had any coffee. No, I mean, we apparently have one, and apparently that's where I am told they started pulling back on some of the tree trimming as a result of the requirement or the request of then Mayor Barry.
Democrats.
I'm just saying.
Tree huggers, not power line huggers, clearly.
Take care of your power lines. Do
you think they've learned from this?
Well, I hope they have, but I will tell you, what happens is the passage of time fades memories about how angry people are. They're angry now, and they have everybody's undivided attention. Mm-hmm. You've got the government's attention. You've got NES's attention. So if there's going to be a time to make a change, this is it. My thinking is that when you set up one of these blue ribbon panels, that's a play for time. Let's kick this can down the road. When the blue ribbon panel finally comes back with its recommendations, it'll be so far past the moment, nobody will report on it much. Nobody will talk about it much. Everybody say, good report, duly noted, thank you very much, and that'll be the end of it. People don't like their trees being trimmed as part of it.
Yep.
But you got to do it.
I've lived in so many different cities. it's always the same.
Yep.
Where people don't like their trees trimmed, and then
they get upset and they get angry and they say, "Look what you did to my tree! Isn't that the most?" And they are ridiculous looking. I would say, then why did they plant the tree under the power line?
That's
the power
exactly
line was
right.
there first. You
That
know?
is-
I don't understand it.
That's exactly right. And the frustrating part is every place I've lived, there's always been these tree canopy controversies.
Right.
And but then when everybody's power goes out, you start looking around the neighborhood. Oh, look, that lady that complained in May about her trees getting trimmed. It was her tree that fell on the power lines, and now we have no power.
That's right.
So
I mean, you got to keep them trimmed and a little thought, people, about where you plant your trees.
There is that, too.
I've never understood why, for example, we plant these trees on the street. Everybody says they're very sick trees. They don't have the kind of root system they need.
Right.
And they're usually under a power line or some kind of utility.
in my house, we actually chopped our trees down. They
I had to take a couple out, but I tell you what, that's not a cheap proposition.
No, it's not. They actually came by and wanted me to trim my trees, and I said, "Oh, I'll trim the trees." And Amy was like all in, and she was actually the one that wanted to see our trees cut down because she hated them, they were unhealthy, and so on and so forth. From your source, last question: is there any indication that NES has learned from this? Do you see the CEO as possibly stepping down? And will there be any changes?
Well, there certainly was enough a number of things that went wrong. Certainly, you could call, I would say, for the resignation. I don't see her surviving long term. You may see one of these things where, well, we're not going to do it right away because we're not going to give people the satisfaction of having called for her head and then getting fired. But I think long term, I would be very surprised if she's there in a year.
Yeah, and you know what? You know what's going to make people really mad? If she doesn't survive, but she gets a golden parachute on the way out. That will make people really, really mad, including yours truly. Brian, thank you very much. Will you keep us updated as this continues to develop? Thank you, Brian. All right, it is 7:22 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Got a lot more straight ahead. Jones got the news at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, we'll tell you what the Pentagon is saying this morning about the conflict with Iran. They are holding a press conference even at this hour. So we'll bring you the latest coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$723, Mark Spain Real Estate. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home. You are going to save time and make the most money as well. Dan Mandis here. Say goodbye to the stress that comes with showings and open houses and costly home repairs. My friends at Mark Spain Real Estate, they are going to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Now listen to what one of their clients said. Steve, he says, and this is a quote, "My experience with Mark Spain Real Estate was beyond 5 stars. Not only did I get an amazing offer on my home, but we, quote, closed quickly too." He says, "I'm so appreciative of Mark Spain Real Estate," and Steve's not alone. Mark Spain Real Estate has over 13,000 5-star reviews and sells more than 38 homes every single day, making them the most experienced real estate team in America. Trust Mark Spain to provide the strongest cash offer in the industry and sell your home hassle-free. Find out the guaranteed offer on your home. Find out what it would be. There's no obligation. Call them 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Or go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. Dan Mandis here, the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Let me give you a website that might save you a lot of pain. Painisbad.com. Dan Mandis here, and I got to tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They saved me from a lifetime of pain way back when, probably over 10 years ago. I went to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. I did have that chronic back and neck pain. They fixed me right up. Now, listen, if you've got back or neck pain, sciatica, slipped or bulging spinal discs, herniated discs, spinal stenosis, numbness or weakness in the arms and legs, fingers or toes, that can be a past memory because they can help you with non-surgical spinal decompression. And right now, you're going to get it at a lot cheaper price, 47% off when you mention my name at WTN. The phone number is 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009. Find out more information on all they can do for you at painisbad.com, 615-246-5009. They can help you today. You can also experience robotic lasers, anti-gravity machines, cryo machines, stem cell simulation machines, stem cell stimulation machines, all right here at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, 615-246-5009, painisbad.com. $727 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line 615-737-9986. And it's a busy morning. We have Congressman Scott DeJarlais coming up at 7:35 here on Super Talk 99.7. Going to find out everything that he knows about what is going on with Iran, their response as they continue to bomb not only Israel, but also a lot of the other Middle Eastern countries. And so there is a lot happening. There is a news conference going on right now. General Dan Raisin Kane is giving a news conference. And one of the things I thought was interesting, and Joan's going to have the very latest coming up, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that they said this is not a regime change operation. So that is something that, Joan is going to be reporting on here at the bottom of the hour. I'll be talking about it with Congressman Scott DeJarlais as well. And, for Iran, I think that in my conversation, and I thought it was a good one with Lieutenant General Richard Newton. If you missed it, let's make sure that we make that its own podcast, if we could, Sam. He thinks that the president, and when he said 4 weeks, this is going to be, another 4-week campaign, as now we have another fatality, another casualty. Now it is up to 4. Well, the Lieutenant General Richard Newton, he is a senior analyst for News Nation, and also he's going to be on us with from time to time with some analysis. But he says, it's going to be a slow degradation, slow but sure. Slow degradation of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Is just going to take some time. It's just going to take a few weeks. We'll have to wait and see what happened. We did do a Daily Dan poll. Do you believe, and this was from the 5 o'clock hour, do you believe that we'll be able to get the job done in 4 weeks? And remind me, Sam, what the options were?
You believe the timeline of 4 weeks will hold? Yes. No longer than that, or no shorter than that, no longer than that, leading with 46% of the vote, followed by yes, the timeline of 4 weeks will hold. And last place is no shorter than that, which is what Joan and I were saying. I think will be I'm going to say like 3 weeks.
You going to say 3 weeks?
If there's a poly market out there.
With that.
You good with 3 weeks, Joan? That's what you're going to say, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what we're going to do. At 8:35, we're all going to give our dates.
Oh, we're going to go specific.
We're going to go specific dates. Why not?
Okay. All right. Good.
By the way, you know what else? You know what else is coming up?
What's that?
I don't know if I should do this on the air, but remember way back when our computers and our streaming broke?
Yeah.
And
what do you mean when they broke? You mean how they're still broke?
Yeah. But remember, we actually took a secret employee poll.
Oh, yeah.
Remember they said it'll be fixed in a week,
Yeah.
and I jokingly said, "Oh, it'll be March 7th." And everybody laughed at me. Everybody laughed at me because they thought I was being facetious or whatever. And I said, "Oh no, March 7th, sure." And now we're 5 days away from March 7th. Anyway, whatever.
You're thinking it's going to be longer than March 7th, right?
Here's the great thing, though, Joan. What they were planning, and I'm saying this in all seriousness. What they are planning for our video presentation is going to absolutely blow your mind.
It could hijack Iranian state TV.
It absolutely could. Anyway, got a lot more straight ahead. WTN.
Good morning, 7:31. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The Pentagon holding a press conference this morning. In fact, it's still ongoing right now, updating Americans on the conflict in Iran. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announcing a fourth member of the military has been killed, someone who was severely injured initially in Kuwait, succumbing to his injuries. He also said the U.S. tried through good faith efforts to get Iran to agree before this all happened that it would not attempt to rebuild its nuclear facilities that were destroyed by the U.S. in June.
Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces. Well, President Trump doesn't play those games. And as Secretary Rubio said after the Maduro raid, if you don't know, now you know.
Also happening this morning, 3 U.S. fighter jets were shot down overnight, and we have learned that this was a mistake, friendly fire by Kuwaiti's defense apparatus. All 3 pilots, however, were able to parachute to safety. Now, the fighting in the Middle East could affect the cost of gasoline here in the U.S. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Iran is threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important choke points for the commodity. 20% of the world's oil passes through this waterway, and Reuters reports that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is radioing ships in the area to say that no ship is allowed to pass, and some tankers in the region that we've been following have seemed to turn around. Iran has made this threat before to close the strait, but has never successfully done so. Either way, some disruption of oil exports is expected.
Yeah, and crude oil prices already this morning rising 7.5% overnight. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
7:33, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And coming up, don't forget, we do have Congressman Scott DeJarlais. Looking forward to that conversation with the congressman. Want to tell you about my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. When something goes wrong in your house, you want the team that shows up fast, fixes it right, and treats you like family. Well, that's Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Your trusted pros for total home comfort. And right now, it is the perfect time to upgrade. Now, when you purchase a 16-SEER high-efficiency HVAC system or a whole home repipe, Busy Bee is going to give you a Yeti Tundra 45 cooler for free. That's right, a Yeti cooler. And by the way, this month only, month of March, Busy Bee has TVA rebates available for tune-ups and unit replacements. Even better, their team is going to file all the paperwork for you. No hassle, no headaches. And if you want even more savings, join the Beehive Club membership and keep your home humming year-round. Members get priority scheduling, discounted repairs, free annual HVAC, and plumbing checks, extended warranties as well. And peace of mind knowing equipment is always running at its best. It is the easiest way to save money, avoid breakdowns, and protect your home with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833. Find them online anytime. It's busybeehvac.com.
Okay, so you've got a crash this morning in Woodbine. This is on East Thompson Lane at Briley Parkway, South Lake Drive. Also another one in Joelton. This is on Whites Creek Pike at Baxter Road this morning. Volume delays on 24 West as you're making your way in. Pretty heavy, too, as you're making your way in through the Laverne area. Very slow. And same thing at the merge of 65 and 24 coming in from the north. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.738 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Congressman Scott DeJarlais queued up and ready to go. But real quick, Joan, so we've got Pete Hegseth, and he is giving a briefing on what's going on with Iran. One of the things that I thought was interesting is I guess they said this is not a regime change operation.
Yeah, this is not. They also laid out the reason why this is happening, why it's happening now. Everybody has been talking about, well, why now? Like they've been doing the same thing all along. Because President Trump told them, according to Pete Hegseth, you're not going to rebuild what we destroyed in June, right?
Yep.
And they just would not commit to that. And so he said, he told them that. He said, this was a quote from President Trump. I quote, Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laid it out real straight. And Dan Kane, General Dan Kane, is also talking about it this morning. Real quick soundbite from him.
Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations.
So they're pretty sure that this is doing them in quickly.
All right. Thank you, Joan. Congressman Scott DeJarlais is joining us, of course, Congressman, Chairman of the House Armed Forces Strategic Forces Subcommittee. I think I got that right. Congressman, how are you?
Doing good.
All right. So, I mean, obviously with, things that you know about what's been going on, the leading up to all of this, just let's zoom out 30,000 feet. How do you think so far this military action is going?
Well, first of all, I think it's extremely necessary. There's a lot of people criticizing the president for taking this action. But if you want to take it from 30,000 feet, you got to go back to 79 and you got to look at all the havoc that's been raised since then. And I could literally sit here and probably give you 10, 12 examples that you know about, I know about, bombing Beirut, all the soldiers killed by Iran during the Iraqi war. And basically, their state sponsorism of terrorism. They've sent all kinds of money and training to the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, and all the people that have been inflicting damage to the shipping and people around the world. Iran is truly the mothership, and so no matter how you want to look at this, if Kane said it's not about a regime change, it's certainly an opportunity for the 80+% of Iranians who want a regime change to rise up and fight for their freedom. So the problems were not going to go away. The strike on their nuclear facility is what Trump was referring to, or apparently Hegseth is now. We'll get a more detailed briefing tomorrow. But the only reason I can think they wouldn't want to call it a regime change, maybe a regime change opportunity, is because we don't make a habit of assassinating leaders. Whether you went after Putin or Xi, it's just not something that we do. But at any rate, this is something long term that was not going to go away. It's been picking at us for 47 years, And if you're ever going to have peace or at least stability in the Middle East, then, this is probably the best opportunity that we have. And Iran has managed to alienate the few, maybe semi-allies they have by attacking them as well, thinking somehow this would create sympathy. And Iran doesn't seem to have any friends right now, so as long as Russia and China stays out of it, I think we have a real opportunity for the people of Iran to take their government back and all the terror that has been started. But there's a lot of brush fires that we can be looking for ahead, and I'll stop and let you chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of issues at play here. There are the sleeper cells that I've been talking about off and on this morning. There's the terror attack. I believe that it was a terror attack in Austin, Texas, where a guy walks into this bar, opens fire. 2 people have been killed, over a dozen injured. Guy had a Property of Allah sweatshirt on. He had an Iranian-loving shirt on underneath the sweatshirt. They go to his car. Shocker, he's got a Quran. They go to his home, and he actually had a bunch of photographs of Iranian leaders. Now, you and I both know, because Congressman, you and I have been talking for a long time, we don't know what in the world has come across the southern border during the 4 years of the Biden administration. This guy, though, he has been in our nation since the year 2000, and it turns out that he's got some crimes that he's like a convicted criminal. That's number one. Number two, he had a history of mental illness. Yet for some reason, in 2013, we made him a naturalized citizen. So it turns out that this guy is, in my opinion, somebody that should not have been in our country. He was from Africa, by the way.
Yeah, and he probably was a lone wolf. We'll see as the investigation goes on. Certainly an act of terrorism in his mind. But as you said, sleeper cells across the country. We all have to be super vigilant. The Hezbollah launched on Iran, so they're probably the best funded and best trained of the terrorist groups. Hamas was kind of already decimated because of what went on in Gaza. The Houthis in Yemen, we expect, to see trouble with them. And, again, domestically, we can probably expect more of what we saw in Texas. But we can stick our head in the sand, say if Trump hadn't done this, we wouldn't have lost now 4 U.S. servicemen. And, certainly our prayers and thoughts go out to them and their families and everyone else who's injured and all the people over there fighting this fight. But Neville Chamberlain took this approach, or the approach that Biden and Obama did with Hitler, and we had a major conflict. So ignoring the fact that Iran was not stopping after Midnight Hammer and what had happened to them shows that they were just going to rebuild. And so it's kind of like Hamas in Gaza. If you don't get rid of them, if you don't kill 100% of the cancer, it's not going to go away. But there is an opportunity here. Not saying it's 100% or it's going to happen, but this is the best opportunity in a long time to neutralize Iran, and who I would consider our third biggest adversary behind China, Russia, and then, of course, we still have North Korea out there. But it's going to be, when Trump took office in 2017, ISIS was the dominant terrorist group, and he annihilated them literally in 2 to 3 months. And so if we stop the funding and the ability of Iran to fund their proxies, they're going to continue to act out here over the next several months, but they're going to run out of funding, they're going to run out of training, they're going to run out of weaponry. And so we got to keep the pressure on, and hopefully an alliance will be formed with the Arab nations. And if the Abraham Accord comes to be reality, and these countries recognize Israel as a sovereign state, then there's actually a chance for at least a calming in the Middle East. I don't know if there's ever going to be peace in the Middle East, but I think that this gives us a puncher's chance.
Congressman Scott DeJarlais is joining us. Congressman, give me 15 seconds to check traffic. We'll be back on WTN. Cloudy and showers, a high of 65. Congressman, it sounds like, and I would agree with you, but it does sound like the president did give Iran ample time for negotiations and conversation, and they just seemingly refused. And now we're hearing, and I find this interesting, and I think there's probably different factions within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and what's left of Iran's government. But you have some factions saying, yeah, they'll negotiate, but then you have other factions saying, no, we're not going to negotiate and talk to President Trump. So does that worry you at all, that right now there's different factions with, different willingnesses to talk to the president?
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me. It certainly doesn't surprise me. They're desperately trying to hang on to power, but this is a country with 92 million people, and they have a military force estimated anywhere up to 1 million people when you count all the different state police, the Revolutionary Guard, who's their most elite. But when you have, and I don't know how you poll it, because if you say, yes, I'm against the regime, they'll hang you or shoot you or whatever. But from 22 to 26, they estimate that, north of 80% of the citizens want a regime change. So it's you got to fight for freedom. We've had to do that. And I think we need to be able to help arm these people. We need to give them the capabilities to go up against, the military that is there. They certainly outnumber them, but they don't have the means really or the organization to attack them. So what I hope to see is somewhat of a civil war, and that a lot of the people that even participate in the military there will flip sides. And so, of course, the hardcores that are still alive that haven't been taken out are going to talk tough. They're going to continue to fight back. They're not just going to throw up their arms and surrender. But if you remember in 1991, Saddam Hussein had the fourth largest army. He was aggressive. He was taking countries, Kuwait, going into Saudi Arabia. And, within 42 days, that thing was pretty much over in the first week. And, we talk about casualties. We lost, I think, 48 troops in the first week, and then I think 148 total in combat. There may have been 300 because there was friendly fire and all that, but that was over 42 days. So there are casualties that take place, but, it didn't take too long. Once you get air superiority, which we pretty much have now, we can do some real damage. And so, yeah, they're going to talk tough. And let's see how long they talk tough. Saddam didn't just roll over and, in fact, managed to stay in power. But I think that it's really up to the Iranian people, and from the celebrations you see across the world, really, by Iranians who've been suppressed and oppressed by this regime. This is their chance. We've given them their chance. Plus, Trump's objective of further neutralizing their ability to build missiles that can reach the U.S. And Europe and build a nuclear weapon is also extremely important, too, as far as stabilizing the region.
One of the interesting things, and I'll leave it with this, but, in that culture, they embrace death. And so when it comes to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, I'd say, okay, if you want to embrace death, we can make that happen. I truly hope that we're able to, if these, these guys will not put down their weapons, as Donald Trump is saying. And then essentially the president said, offering them immunity and them putting down their weapons and helping Iran to come to a better place, then you know what? They got to do what they got to do, and we got to do what we got to do. So we'll have to wait and see how this whole thing turns out. Congressman, did we miss anything in this conversation? I feel like we covered a lot of ground.
We covered a lot of ground, and there's a lot more we could cover. But, maybe we can come on again. Like I said, I'll get a lot more inside detail here in the next couple of days. And, we'll watch this unfold and see how it happens. But, I got to believe that there's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of ability for them to communicate. We have cyber technology we used in the Venezuela attack, which inhibits their ability to communicate effectively. So there's got to be a lot of confusion there. And, who do they really want to follow? Who wants to step up and be, the next target, and so Israel is very good in terms of their intelligence. It's embedded. Our CIA is very good. And so, whoever wants to step up next is probably going to be taken out. And so they've got to be demoralized. And tough talk right now doesn't mean much when you're getting your ass kicked. So we'll see. How things shake out here as the thing progresses.
Congressman, love it and looking forward. I know that the president is getting ready to talk to lawmakers, and I don't know exactly who he's supposed to speak to, but I know that there's going to be a lot of information forthcoming. Marco Rubio, by the way, did, as you know, speak to as they say, the Gang of Eight, and so there's a lot of Democrats that were saying, "Oh, he did notify Congress. He did notify Congress." Well, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, did speak to the leaders of both parties
Speaker
from the House
Johnson,
and the Senate.
Hakeem Jeffries, Schumer, they all were notified before. We had a conference call yesterday. They were all notified before this happened. And this war powers resolution is bull. We've declared war. The last time Congress declared war was, I think, 1942. And so, if this is a conflict, it's not a war. The president has the right to do this. If it gets prolonged and it turns into a Middle Eastern war, then Congress needs to get involved and approve funding. But right now, he's well within his rights, just like Obama did in Libya, and on and on and on. And so, they're just doing anything to score political points right now. The Trump derangement syndrome is alive and well, and I'm sure that we're going to hear more than we care to this week from anti-Trump Democrats.
Oh, yes, it's early, and we most certainly will. We've already had an earful on Saturday and Sunday. Congressman, always great to have you on, and we'll have you on again soon. Congressman Scott DeJarlais on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One of the things, Joan, that Pete Hegseth was talking about, and Raising Cane as well, Dan Kane, one of the things that they said was that this is not Iraq, and this is not going to be, what some people would say a forever war. This is going to be, as Trump said, 4-5 weeks, and then we are out of there. We do have some audio from Pete Hegseth. Just real quick, let me play one. I need some audio up. Let me play this audio bite from Pete Hegseth.
It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
There you go. So Pete Hegseth, one of many sound bites that we'll be playing. It is 7:54 on Super Talk 99.7. Joan's got the news at 8. Joan.
Yeah, we've got more on that press conference at the Pentagon this morning. And also the death toll in Karachi, Pakistan, after a bunch of guys tried to attack the U.S. consulate there. The story's coming up at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did you hear? Did that snickering come through on the radio?
Yeah. It did. Definitely. I was trying to ignore it, but
we're talking about this
attention
in the 5 o'clock hour. So a bunch of guys come to try to destroy our consulate in Pakistan.
In Karachi, Pakistan.
Yeah. And, they messed around and found out.
They did.
And they came armed with what? Sticks and stones?
Rocks, and tire irons.
And we had guns. And they
to be fair, they had a couple of pistols, but our guns were bigger and better.
And probably with the Marines that were there, probably better shots as well.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. They took one bite of a crayon and started pulling the trigger.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll continue to cover everything that is going on related to what is happening in Iran. It is 7:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here for my friends at USS United Structural Systems. Tennessee remains in recovery mode. USS is here to help you. We've got flooded homes and weakened infrastructure as well. They've been helping people out since 1994, and USS has helped thousands of families and businesses restore their homes after foundation damage. Where that damage comes from, of course, is like the crazy weather that we had back in January. Year after year, tens of thousands of Middle Tennesseans have been helped by United Structural Systems. I mean, listen, we're talking about schools and homes, community involvement as well. USS has been huge in times of trouble and despair. They've helped me a number of times with my home, and I'm a big believer in what United Structural Systems can do for you. So if you've got foundation or water issues, going to be raining today if it's not already, go with the company that I trust, United Structural Systems. They can help you gain peace of mind with USS and their foundation repair and waterproofing services, to name just a few. Find them online at USSTN.com, USSTN.com, 615-488-7855.
Good morning, now 8 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The Pentagon addressing the nation this morning with an update on what's happening in the Middle East. Here's ABC News.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Sherry Preston. The warning from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff as the American attacks expand in Iran.
This is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work.
General Dan Kane speaking this morning at the Pentagon. President Trump has warned the operations could take weeks. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult.
He also offered condolences for the 4 Americans already killed.
A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured.
3 U.S. fighter jets taken down in Kuwait, mistakenly shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses. All 6 crew members ejected. The Iranian Red Crescent says at least 555 have been killed in the country. This is ABC News.
And by the way, 15 U.S. aircraft have left the military bases in southern Spain after its foreign minister said that Spain would not allow its military bases, jointly operated by the U.S. and Spain, but under Spanish sovereignty, to be used for attacks on Iran. Now, Britain had also initially refused to allow the use of its bases for an attack on Iran, but on Sunday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer authorized their use for what he called collective self-defense. Meantime, the death toll in Karachi, Pakistan from a violent weekend protest has reached at least 25. Many of them were protesters who tried smashing their way into the U.S. consulate there. Our Marines fighting back, killing at least 10 and injuring at least 70 others. There is right now a 3-day curfew in Karachi. The FBI is looking into any connection after a man wearing a sweatshirt reading "Property of Allah" and wearing an Iran T-shirt shot up a bar in Austin, Texas.
Gunfire outside a popular bar in Austin, Texas this weekend, now being linked potentially to terrorism. Police say the shooter first opened fire from his SUV at patrons outside the bar, then got out with a rifle and shot people in the street. 2 people were killed, 14 others wounded. People inside sheltering for safety.
Close it! Close it! Close it! Close it!
Within 1 minute of the first call for help, police confronting the gunman, fatally shooting him.
That's ABC's Faith Abube there. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures sharply lower this morning as expected. The Dow futures are minus 524. That is the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Loan Pronto. Are high interest rate credit cards and other loans sucking the life out of your finances? Well, it is time to say no more. Let Loan Pronto tap the equity in your home and get the cash you need now so you can pay off all those high interest credit cards and loans. Now, Corey and Jack called Loan Pronto. In a matter of days, they had $160,000. They kept their 3% mortgage intact and didn't even need an appraisal. Now, with all that cash, they were able to wipe out all their credit cards and a couple of car loans as well, saving $2,000 a month. And you can do it too. LoanPronto.com, their rapid equity loan program, can get you $100,000, $200,000, even $500,000 in cash. Chloe and Ethan just did it as well. Consolidated all their high interest debt into one super low monthly payment, giving them an extra $1,000 a month. Imagine, pay off all the credit cards and slash your monthly payments. Breathe easier and get your life back. Now, interest rates are at a 3-year low. Call Loan Pronto at 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. The website is loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Wow, really slow on 65 north from the Brentwood area on up this morning. Same thing for 24 west. It's really jammed up as well. You've got a crash in Joelton, Whites Creek Pike at Baxter Road, and another in Madison. This is on 65 southbound side before Briley Parkway, Ellington Parkway, exit 90 A and B. That crash is on the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTM.
.807 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, and welcome on in. It has been just a very news-driven morning this morning, and it does continue. One of the things that I do want to, because there's other news that is going on outside of Iran, and I want to welcome on into the program Rich McHugh, investigative correspondent with News Nation. Rich, always great to have you on. And
Thanks for having me.
We all know the Palisades fire. We talked about that a lot. Just so you know, Rich, I'm from Los Angeles, so I reported on this quite a bit. So let's talk about, it's been roughly a year since all of these fires happened, and now we're finding out just how bad it was inside California and some of the mistakes that were made that led to a lot more damage being done in Southern California. You've been interviewing a guy by the name of Scott Pike. He is a 23-year veteran of the Los Angeles Fire Department. He is now giving some testimony as far as the missteps that happened during the fighting of these fires. And so talk about your conversations with Scott Pike and the warnings at the time that he had given that were essentially ignored.
Sure thing. So as you've said, I've been covering this since the beginning, and I've been interviewing the kind of attorney who represents over 3,000 Palisades families, suing the state for negligence, essentially. He deposed LA Fire Department firefighters in December, and the city put a confidentiality, for lack of a better word, block on them. And the question was why? Well, I think now we're understanding why. One of those firefighters, his name was Scott Pike. I did not interview him, but I was given the deposition, the video deposition that he was interviewed in December, and it's thoroughly damaging. It's brutally honest, and it's thoroughly damaging to the narrative that has been out there that this was essentially a wind-driven event, that this was there was an arsonist, that the state is not at fault, that the city's not at fault. This firefighter, probably at great risk to his career and to his, his personal safety, I would say, came forward and said, look, I was one of the last firefighters in that burn scar when there was an initial fire. There was an initial fire on New Year's Eve, which was a week before the Palisades fire. It's called the Lockman fire. He said, I was in there. Our orders were to pull up the hoses. And as we were pulling up the hoses from putting out the fire from the night before, I noticed that essentially there were hot spots. They call them smokers, that there was smoke coming out of the ground and embers that when he kicked over, he said they were still crackling. And when he poured a little bit of water on them, they sighed, telling him this was still hot. And he recommended to his authorities that they, essentially change mission for the day and not pull up the hoses, that they put this out. And essentially he says he was ignored. And now he says, a year later, he's like, it sits heavy with me because I know that we left that hillside, that area, right where the Palisades fire started. 6 days later, they left the embers still sitting there. And, there's been separate scientists by the defense that they brought in who triangulated exactly where the fire started. And it appears that the Palisades fire started something like within 200 yards of where this firefighter is talking and saying he was spotting these embers. And there's also independent video from hikers up there that has shown that area was smoking. Not to mention drone video, which showed thermal imaging that shows that like that whole area was like bright red on camera, which signified that it was not put out, that the mop-up was not completely done. And now this damages the city and the state, because they've always said, like, we did our job and it wasn't the state. Gavin Newsom was always saying this is not our responsibility. We pre-deployed all these trucks down to Southern California into the area. Well, he didn't pre-deploy any trucks to the Palisades, which, you know, if you had this massive fire 6 days before a wind event, you'd think that you would, number one. And the city did not pre-deploy any trucks up there. So it's just pointing to, I don't think this is going to end very well for either side. You know, I think the Palisades victims are gonna win on this one.
Well, this was, I mean, so Scott Pike, firefighter, says this fire is not dead. There's still embers here. We cannot leave this here. And then ultimately it explodes into what became the Palisades fire, claiming the lives of 12 people and destroyed nearly 7,000 homes. So I can imagine why this firefighter that was ignored by his peers, I can understand why this must sit heavy with him. The LA Fire Department adamantly said that it was completely put out. But it sounds like, I don't know, look, I'm clearly not a firefighter, but you can tell when embers are hot. I mean, you can just tell. I mean, I've been around enough fires to know these things. Do we know, did they, at the very least, go and check out where firefighter Pike was saying that there were embers? Did they at least check it out or no?
I don't believe that they did. It sounds like he was the last guy in that area.
Wow.
And as he was going out, he was saying, hey, boss, like, we should get up there and put this out or reactivate these hoses. And they didn't do that. They ignored him. And he said, like, look, the attitude at the time was like, you know, people have been on overtime for days and we're all tired and this is the mission. Let's just complete the mission and get on out of here. And,
well, and it looks like after the LAFD decided, okay, so we're going to walk away from this, California State Parks took over the burn site and they would patrol it for days. But I mean, I don't know what California State Parks is or if they know what, you know, hot embers are that could spark another fire. But, I mean, clearly the state of California, I mean, these lawsuits, does it look like, at least to you, just from a correspondent standpoint, does it look like the state of California is going to be, you know, paying some restitution to these folks?
I think so. I mean, having been watching this from and reporting on it, it's almost like this testimony, you know, from my perspective, feels like game over for the state and the city. The state, you know, which has California State Parks, it is in their own laws that they are supposed to, if the fire occurs on their land and it's deemed to be a threat to people, it is their responsibility to close the park. They did not do that, and their people were supposed to be in that park monitoring it. And one of the testimonies that just came out was a guy named John Oda from State Parks, and he admitted that he was there the first day, but he never returned after that. And it's just one of a series of things, revelations, that when you put this all together, you know, from my perspective as a reporter, this initial fire happened. They didn't put it out completely. They were supposed to be monitoring it in the days after it. They did not. They were not up there. Hikers smelled and saw smoke, documented it. Drone video saw that the hillside was still hot. And then by the time this wind starts kicking up 5 and 6 days later, it's no wonder that something kicks back up and starts this massive fire. And they're trying to blame it on, you know, 100-mile-an-hour winds. Well, no, the conditions were set in the days leading up to this because they didn't put it out. So all it needed was a little wind to kick up.
Oh, and Rich McHugh joining us, investigative correspondent for News Nation. So talk about, because I know people in California. As I said, I'm from there, and there's a lot of, I just don't know conservatives. I mean, I know folks that are Democrats as well. There's not a lot of people that are happy with Gavin Newsom right now. Are people blaming the governor for this?
Oh yeah, I mean they're saying, look, he's inept at managing things like this, and for him to be out there, recently he was down in South America, talking about how California is a model for climate change, and it's sort of laughable given the situation that is, look, nearly 7,000 homes were wiped, and 12 people lost their lives. Like, this is a massive disaster that could have been prevented. I think people are aware of that in Los Angeles. Like, they're connecting the dots. They're smart. People are smart, and they can see that this did not need to happen. And the details and the testimony now are coming out to show that this fire could have been prevented. And all this lip service for the past year is exactly that. And I think they're outraged by it. Well, and you said, Gavin Newsom flying around the world talking about California being the poster state for climate change or whatever it was. You said it was laughable. I was laughing at the time you said that it was laughable. Real quickly, we've only got like a minute left, but there was a story that I covered a while ago. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass facing backlash because the L.A. Times reported that her office directed the watering down of that after-action report regarding the 2025 Palisades fire. I mean, I think clearly, whether it's Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass, whether they're willing to admit it in public or not, I think that they know that they are under scrutiny. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't have independent confirmation of the watering down of that report, but I've spoken to enough people and, heard the testimony of these people that they were essentially instructed to, change the recorded history or like soften it. And, it's just when there's something like this happens, such a big, catastrophe, people are going to be held liable. And I think the people who we all know should be held liable are doing everything in their power not to be held liable. And that includes, softening language around these reports. Like, why the need to change any of the wording in an after-action report? You shouldn't even have any authority to change anything. It should be done by the firefighters or the people that were on the ground or the independent investigation team. So everything else is just performance art at this point, in my opinion. Yeah, and Rich, as you know, the firefighter that actually did the report was so angry that he said, I want my name taken off the report. This is not even close to what actually happened. Rich McHugh, investigative correspondent with News Nation, thank you very much for joining us on Super Talk. You always have great information, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. Is it 8:19 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN? I want to play some real quick audio from Pete Hegseth, some audio from his news conference regarding what is going on in Iran. This is the Secretary of War talking about the fake news, talking about how this could turn into another, I'm going to air quote this, another endless forever war. This is what Pete Hegseth said.
To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. Yep, that is Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. The other thing that he said is that this is not a regime change war.
Let me play just a couple of other sound bites. I've not heard these because I was on the air. So, Joan, if you want to have a little fun with audio from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, here's more about, not only what he's saying about Iran, but also a warning to the rest of the world.
It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
So one of the things, and I will say, and I've been honest with this for, weeks now, and that is that I have some reservations about what we're doing in Iran. I just do. That doesn't mean that I'm a Democrat or anything. We don't know how this whole thing is going to end. And so we'll have to ultimately wait and see what happens. I do like, though, what Pete Hegseth is saying. And I don't think that we should be apologetic about what we're doing. If we're going to do it, let's go all in. If we're going to do it, let's make sure that we completely annihilate Iran's military. Let's make sure that we make sure that they don't have any, real military or nuclear capabilities. And by the way, as, we've been saying a couple of different times this morning, okay, so the fact that Iran decided that it would be a good day to bomb, the likes of, Qatar and Doha and United Arab Emirates, it doesn't make any sense why they're doing this. They're just lashing out. And so as Congressman Scott DeJarlais said, can you imagine if these people had actually a nuclear weapon? Yeah. So the way that, Joan, the way that Iran is actually responding to this actually, in a way, justifies what the Trump administration is doing.
You know what word we'll never hear about this particular conflict?
What's that?
Quagmire.
No, I don't think so.
Because it's not going to, it's going to have a definitive beginning and a decisive end. It'll be over.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is going to be on the Trump administration, and they are saying this is going to be a 4 to 5 week mission. That's what it's going to be, and after that, we are gone. It is up to Iran to figure out what's next. Here's more from Pete Hegseth.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel.
I actually love that quote.
Yeah, me too. He said a lot of things there that during this press conference that I thought it reflects President Trump's view of how this should go, which is not like anything else we've seen before. We're not going to be in these, they call them endless wars. Right. It's not going to be, the mission is defined, and once it's over, it's over.
And here's the deal. As a guy who has some serious reservations about all of this, I like what I'm hearing. They're making me feel better. They're to me, anyway, they are justifying what they did. And that's appreciated. Here's more from Pete Hegseth.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
So it sounds like Pete Hegseth and, of course, Donald Trump, we played some audio earlier from last night, both justifying going into Iran and doing what we're doing. Again, as I said before, Iran's response really does also justify what we are doing. Do I still have reservations? Absolutely. Do we know how this whole thing is going to end? No, we don't. As I said before, this could be the greatest thing that Donald Trump ever did, or it could be the worst thing Donald Trump ever does. We'll just have to wait and see how the whole thing plays out. 8:25, Joan's got the news at 8:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here on Super Talk 99.7, of course, we've got the one way that the conflict in Iran has now spread. Also, the First Lady will make history today at the United Nations. We'll tell you how coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. At 8:25, Dan Mandis here. And listen, summer is only months away, but the work to get that beach bod back, that begins right now. And my friends at Contours can help you get it back. With FDA-cleared red light technology, Contours is going to help you target those areas that you hate, whether it's your belly, your arms, or your legs, whatever problem area you have. they can solve that problem. No pain, no surgery, no downtime, just results. And I'm just going to tell you that I've been through it. Matt Murphy's been through it as well. We can both tell you that it works. I usually actually fall asleep during my treatments at Contours. Real men and women from Franklin and across Middle Tennessee have been checking out Contours. They have been seeing real results. And so your beach trip isn't that far away, friends. Let Contours help you get rid of those trouble spots. And right now, the first 10 callers get a special introductory price of $99. That's right. The first 10 callers right now get a special introductory price of only $99. Remember, you see results or it is free. The first 10 callers, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960. First 10 callers right now get that special price of just $99. Be sure that you tell them that you heard about it from me, Dan Mandis, on Nashville's Morning News. Find them online, ContoursLLC.com. ContoursLLC.com. Contours, all you've got to lose is inches. Dan Mandis here, lifelong dog owner, and I've seen all kinds of behaviors with my animals, and I bet you have too. Now, if you've got a dog that needs some behavior training, my buddy Jeff and his crew at Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they can help you. I call them the dog whisperers, and a lot of people that listen to Nashville's Morning News have been checking in and thanking me because they called. They called Jeff at Ridgeside Canine Nashville, and their dogs, their behavior is now improved. Here's that phone number, 615-878-0380. Now, I'm not surprised that people all across Middle Tennessee are seeing improvement in their dog's behavior because, you know, Jeff and the folks at Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they've been doing this for the last 25 years to solve those behavioral issues in dogs. They can help you and your pup as well. If your dog has aggression issues, potty problems, anxiety, basic obedience problems, they can help you help your precious pup with just about anything. So they're going to include you in your dog's training. Thing I love about Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they do believe that owner education is just as important as dog training, and long-term success with your dog begins with you. And at Ridgeside Canine Nashville, isn't your dog worth it? I believe so. Now, they've got a lifetime support guarantee. They're there for you 24/7. So call Jeff today at 615-878-0380. Visit them online, rsk9nash.com. The letter K, the number 9, rsk9nash.com. Ridgeside Canine Nashville, veteran-owned, proven results, and guaranteed for life.
morning, I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The conflict that began with strikes in Iran have spread this morning as Israel releasing footage of its forces striking Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in Beirut, Lebanon, killing the head of the intelligence headquarters. Israel expanded its attack to include Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, yesterday after that terrorist group launched attacks into Israel over the weekend. Well, today, history will be made when the U.S. assumes the rotating presidency of the Security Council. This is a role that shifts every month between the member countries. Melania Trump, the First Lady, becomes the first First Lady to preside over the UN Security Council. She will address the council with a speech that stresses the importance of education and knowledge in creating ongoing and everlasting peace. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Right now, the stocks are being beat up by this war news. This morning, the Dow Jones Industrials down 491 right now. The NASDAQ losing 222 here at the start, and the S&P 500 index is minus 60. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. At 8:33, Dan Mandis here, Nashville's Morning News. And whether you are 20, 40, or 60 years old, Vision for Life has the right procedure to help you see clearly without glasses or contacts. Now, if you're tired of dealing with blurry vision, Dr. Horn at Vision for Life is the name to know here in Nashville. Now, Dr. Horn has helped thousands of people finally break free from glasses and contacts. Now, what makes Vision for Life different is that your treatment is tailored just for you. There's no cookie-cutter approach, just really smart, personalized care using the most advanced technology available. So no matter your age or your eye condition, Vision for Life is the destination for vision correction. Schedule a consultation today and let Dr. Horn create a custom vision plan built around your lifestyle and your vision goals. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Dr. Horn is who I turn to for my vision correction procedures. 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020. Find them online anytime. It is visionforlife.com, 436-2020, visionforlife.com, and start seeing life the way it was meant to be seen. Get to the boot in the butt part. Come on. (8:38) Nashville's Morning News. Super Talk 99. Are we doing this now? He's got the helicopters. Is this what you're going to do? You warmonger. Sam is warmongering today.
Pro-war producer.
Pro-war producer. There's nothing worse than a pro-war producer.
I am pro-American soldiers. Thank you very much.
Wait, turn it up right here. That's the best part right there. Do you remember? I remember driving. I was in L.A. when all this was going on. I remember driving down the 101 freeway and hearing this song for the first time. Holy crap.
Chills?
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very much so. And so, you know what's interesting? So today I've been accused. Joan, you'll love this too.
Yeah.
So today I've been accused of being a warmonger and a pacifist. Like, how does that happen?
Okay.
How can I be called a warmonger and a pacifist?
You're taking notes from the Trump administration. You're doing two things at once.
Apparently so. There it is. So, yeah,
It took
because
a long time to get to that point.
Yeah. One of the things I think is interesting is because I don't know how many times, you know, it's so funny. Like I've said, and I even said on our podcast, which by the way, we were horrifically wrong.
Oh,
Chris.
we were way off.
Oh, you know how many times I've heard this?
The podcast over the weekend, we're like, maybe nothing happens at all. And this is just saber rattling.
He's not going to do anything.
Famous last words.
Famous last words. But, you know, I've been open about my reservations on this from the start, but I'm not going to spend 4 hours of my radio broadcast screaming about how, you know, Trump is a warmonger.
No, you can't do that.
No. We'll find out. We'll find out the success or failure of this mission, you know, months or even years from now.
And that's the thing. Like right now, it looks like a military success, but who knows what this turns into or what this looks like a couple years from now.
It just depends.
Hindsight is going to be the judge of this.
Mm-hmm. Like many wars.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we'll have to see ultimately who takes over in Iran. But I got to tell you, I'm incredibly impressed with the military execution of all. Now, the same can't be said for Kuwait, who shot down, you know, 3 of our airplanes. But, you know, by and large, I mean, what we did in Iran, and they just had a map up on CNN. And, I mean, this is a massive country, and they had attacks. We attacked them in all parts of the country.
Thousands of bombs, pinpoint accuracy. They got the Ayatollah when he was at a meeting with everybody, all the big dogs.
I love that part of it. I love that part of the story.
Yeah, 48. So the Ayatollah and 48 of his, best friends turned into rubble.
Was Joan sending you savage memes over the weekend as well?
No. Joan, why are you Why are you not sending me savage memes, Joan?
I sent it to you.
Joan sent savage memes.
My wife's jaw dropped when I showed her the meme that Joan sent me.
Joan didn't send me any memes.
You didn't get a meme of Khomeini turned to ash?
Oh, okay. This one's
Not
funny.
ash. That was sand, baby. That was sand.
Details matter.
What's the difference over there anyway?
So I showed my wife too. There you go. So you've got a pile of ash or sand or whatever it is with Khomeini's glasses and a turban.
Yeah, how did they not destroy the glasses, Joan?
Yeah, well, maybe he took them off for a minute.
Facts matter, Joan.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That meme was fake news.
But it was fun to look at.
It was funny. Brian says I'm bipolar. I'm not bipolar. Am I?
Well, they're saying because you said you're a warmonger and a
a pacifist.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Very good. I get called a lot of things, and that's fine. Not a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I wore my Kill Khomeini scally cap today.
I noticed that when I walked in. I said, "Is that your war scally?"
That's my war scally. That's what I'm wearing, Joan. You missed my war scally.
Oh man.
You missed it.
What's it look like?
It looks like a war scally. This is not hard, Joan.
It's got red stripes that symbolize the blood of his enemies.
Is that a gold stripe?
It's a gold stripe for the golden age that we have now entered.
It's exactly. Keep it going. Yeah. And the golden age that Iran perhaps is about to enter as well.
The gray for the darkness that has been cast over our enemies.
Is there sand color?
I think you could call that some sand.
That sand color represents the ash that is the Khomeini is now.
Yeah.
Sure, that's exactly what it is.
The war scally.
The war scally. This will be forever known as the war scally. I've got to find a peace scally now.
No. No peace scallies allowed.
Okay. Very good.
Only war scallies.
Oh, no, I want to get a peace scally too, because then that'll be an excuse to buy another scally.
Oh.
I'm addicted, man.
Do you need an excuse at this point to buy another scally?
To my wife. Yeah. Yeah, it's becoming an issue.
Is she also saying they're all the same shape for the most part? They're just different colors, and some of them are even close to similar colors?
I have explained, Sam, to my wife that I need different colors for different outfits.
You need diversity, equity, and inclusion of your scally cap collection.
Well, I have to have inclusion that my scally cap has to match my clothes. Anyway, what else is going on?
Did you see Joe Biden make an appearance over the weekend?
What is he doing?
Nobody really knows.
Like, I don't understand.
And I don't even think if you asked him, he would be able to tell you what he's doing.
He hasn't aged well. I mean, he's still. You know what? I don't know if he sounds any worse than he did when he left office, but he certainly didn't sound any better.
Well, I DM'd you the clip on X.
Okay.
He is on a. I don't even know what you would call this. Would you call this a campaign trail event? Anyway, he said the day he left office, the economy was the strongest in the world, and that the border were the lowest than the day that he entered in office. This is Joe Biden over the weekend.
The day I left office, border crossing into the United States were lower than the day that I entered that office inherited from Trump.
What about the 4 years in between then, you dolt? I mean, good. Did people applaud? Let me.
He is. I won't say it. That's just a fact.
What won't he say? That he's effective. His messaging has been clear. People stopped coming to the southern border because of him. It's secure.
People understand what our policies are.
He didn't need the bipartisan border bill.
Mm-hmm.
Fact. On the day I left office, I handed Trump the strongest economy in the world. In the world. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact.
Sure, Joe. And whatever you say.
It's not hyperbole, but it is pretty silly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing out. Like, Joan, is anybody pining to see or hear from Joe Biden?
I have not heard that anybody's pining to see him. But here's what I think is the good news out of all of this. That now that they're only rolling him out, he's only getting those amphetamines that prop him up every once in a while.
You think that's good for him, Joan?
Well, it's better that they're not doing it every single day because they had to before.
I don't know.
Now it's just every once in a while.
My favorite Biden is methed up Biden.
Methed up?
Methed up.
Mine is weekends at Bernie Biden.
Oh.
When they have to carry him around everywhere.
Unlike you two, I have no favorite Biden, only worst favorited Bidens. What least favorite? I guess that's what I want to say.
Is that what you want to say?
Do you know what? I wish I was bipolar. The other side of me would be smarter.
Yeah.
And able to speak more clearly.
Would that happen? Would the other side of you be a savant and the other side of you be, on the shorter bus?
I don't know. I've never really.
Is that how it works?
I've never really thought about what it would be like to be a savant.
Oh.
I'm a short bus kind of guy. As a matter of fact. But you know what? I'm not as bad as Joe Biden.
No, and
so there you go.
I think that after this big speech, I think he was kind of grateful that Iran got bombed, so people didn't remember and roast him.
You know what? You can trace, not to belabor the point, but you can trace Iran's aggression to Joe Biden.
100%.
And his unwillingness to enforce the sanctions of Donald Trump. I mean, we could go on and on about
that. Funded October 7th.
That funded October 7th. The Iranian military trained Hamas, and they went into Israel and killed 1,200 plus. All of this can be traced right back to Joe Biden
and Barack Obama. Pallets of cash.
Pallets of cash.
Pallets of cash.
What was it? 1.7 billion? Is that what it was?
I think it was around there. It was a lot of money.
Do you remember when the Iranians boarded one of our ships and took all the guys hostage for a period of time?
I was baffled by how that happened.
I was baffled by that too. It wasn't long after that the pallets of cash started flowing to Iran. Thank you, Barack Obama.
It would take about half a mile if I were captain of a ship, half a mile to take out an Iranian ship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like-
I don't think that's something that you'll ever have to worry about again because it looks like all of those boats have been sunk.
They're down at the bottom of the ocean.
They lost the game of Battleship.
They sure did. Boy, and that was a pretty quick game too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about, again, we're talking, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, but how even if you have, like me, if you have reservations about all this, you can.
Weekend, it's what happens in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, a year.
Yep.
Are we still embroiled in this conflict, or is it going to be the 4-week campaign that Hegseth says it's going to be?
It's exactly right. By the way, Ice-T says, Chris, you are a dog-faced pony soldier, methed up Biden. When you say Biden is methed up, do you mean like he's messed up with a lisp, or do you mean that like he's on meth?
I meant crystal meth.
Crystal meth.
Yeah,
Okay.
amphetamines.
Okay.
The crystal
That's how they got him
methamphetamines.
to be able to stand up and do his spiels
That's
in
right.
public.
A lot of meth.
A lot of meth. By the way, did you see?
Allegedly, reportedly.
They didn't find it in the White House, only cocaine.
No, but I firmly believe that
cocaine
was Hunter's. I do, and maybe Hunter was going to give it to his dad. I don't know.
Maybe he brought enough to share with the class.
Do you know what was fun? I don't know if you have this, but I did this earlier. But, you know, I love when Kamala Harris said this about Iran.
Don't.
Right? Remember that?
Yes.
And then we had Donald Trump from 2016.
I'm going to bomb the shit out of them.
Yep.
It's true. I don't care. I don't care.
I mean, I think it's great.
Well, and there's a big debate online with Trump. You know, people are playing his old clips back about no new wars, no Middle Eastern quagmires. But there's also a ton of other clips, even dating back to his campaign in 2015, where he's saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So people are trying to frame this as Donald Trump flip-flopping, but I don't think he has.
There's nothing wrong with what I would say is preventative attack. Where, okay, so they were, Donald Trump said they were threatening us. And so he went in. Now realize, though, the other side of that will be, yeah, but they've always threatened us. What have they ever actually done, right? So that's the other side of it. But for me, I think that we're going to have to see if this turns out to be and I'm air quoting here, a forever war, or if we are going to be done in 4 or 5 weeks. We don't know anything yet. People were asking me over the weekend. I know this happened to you too. What do you think about all this? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was getting texts like Saturday morning as everything's kicking off.
Did you wake up to it too?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. I haven't really thought about this at all. And then I spent the majority of the weekend not paying attention to the news whatsoever and just being dad because I knew that by Sunday evening things were going to have been reported, that have been redacted, things were going to change, and the situation was going to develop very, very quickly. So I actually tried to avoid the news at all costs until Sunday evening.
Let's see here. 84-3 says that I believe the Coke was Kamala's.
Could have been.
Does she remind you in her jabberjawedness, does she remind you of a cokehead?
It wouldn't shock me. I wouldn't go there right away. I would just say, the wine aunt.
I think that's more common, more likely.
Yeah, she's just the cool wine aunt.
Wine? What is that wine aunt? What are you talking about?
You know, she doesn't have any kids of her own, and so she gets drunk on the weeknights.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know,
so why not do a heap of Coke?
Why? Well, what's a little bump between friends, you know?
I wouldn't know, Chris. No. I would. Joan, do you know what's a little bump between friends?
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately, I do, yeah.
Let's go, Joan.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that answer. Am I the only non-drug user on the radio station right now?
Listen. You're in the news. You should know these kind of things.
Thank you, Joan.
It should not be a foreign concept to you.
Thank you, Joan.
Doing bumps among friends? Joan, do you know what a bump is? Are we still talking the same thing?
Are we talking a bump of cocaine?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I've never been on cocaine.
Well, at least you know if Joan has some, she'll share.
Yeah, I have some, sure.
8:54, Joan, once you come down from that bump of cocaine, what's coming up in the news at 9?
Well, a fourth member of the U.S. military has now been announced to have died in the fighting in Iran. So we've got that and what the ABC News has to say about the latest on what's happening in Iran this morning. It's coming up at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
To be fair for Joan, she's working from home today, so she doesn't have Wally's bean machine. So the bump of cocaine is the best thing that she
Very
can.
helpful.
It's
yeah.
the best that she's got.
Wally'sBeanMachine.com. You know what's nice about Wally's?
Is that their new slogan? Better than a bump.
Wally's Bean Machine. Do you know what I like about Wally's Bean Machine at Wally'sBeanMachine.com?
What's that, Dan?
That, we have all these radio stations in this building, and people that I actually have nothing in common with, I now have something to say.
We do.
Hey, what's your favorite Wally's Bean Machine cup of coffee? And we've all got one.
Everybody does.
Folks, if you care about your employees, get Wally's Bean Machine at Wally'sBeanMachine.com.
And if your employer doesn't have a Wally's Bean Machine, I think that's an indictment on them that they don't care about you and you should find a new job.
It's exact. You know what? When you're up for this is what I would do. If you're like some highfalutin employee and you're up for like contract renegotiation, no green M&Ms in the candy box and Wally's Bean Machine in the kitchen. Wally'sBeanMachine.com.
Perfect.
I think that's pretty good, wasn't it?
Heck of a read.
All right. All right, Chris, what's coming up real quick?
Well, we'll dive into the latest. We'll bring you all the highlights from Hegseth's press conference this morning. I'll also be opening up the phone lines and getting your instant reaction on what you think about the events over the weekend. And we'll also talk about Donald Trump. He's got a busy schedule today. Did you see this already? He's already had some executive time. He's got a Medal of Honor ceremony coming up at about 10 a.m. our time. He's going to be signing some things in the Oval Office this afternoon, so we'll be keeping an eye on the White House as well, because I'm sure we're going to be getting some questions and some answers from the President of the United States.
All right, Chris Hand up next, 8:55. Dan Mandis here, and my place to shop for furniture and appliances is DT McCall's. I've bought both from DT McCall's. They can help you as well. I've bought furniture. I've bought appliances, again, from DT McCall's. They're always looking for ways to save you money. Check out their website right now, dtmccalls.com. So if you need a washing machine, they've got the GE Energy Star. The GE Energy Star Ultra Fast Combo, right now with a rebate. So you are going to save $800 from DT McCall's. It is now March, and that means that you might need a new barbecue. They've got the best Louisiana grills at great prices for all budgets. If you've got a room to fill, they can help you with all the best brands of sectionals for the living room, bedroom suites, and dining room furniture as well. All at great prices and customer service. DT McCall's, 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, Lafayette, and Franklin. Always online, dtmccalls.com.